Okay, Israel. Hope everybody's doing well today. Once again, we're back at it. Shabbat Shalom. Shout out SOT family, Kawakaba, Guatemala, and his congregation. Also, shout out SOW family in Virginia, Houston, and Rochester, New York. Hope your brothers and sisters are doing well out there in those different cities. We're going to be rocking and rolling on the second. We'll get our prayers up first, and then go from there. All right? Imagine. Barakatah Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai.
Ha-ha-la. Nothing to know. A war. Zayawam. The water.
Aman. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, that gives us the light this day. Thanks. So this one stinks.
Oh, it's just burning fast. Yeah. So like, oh no. Not yet. Put the other. Okay. Barakatah Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai.
Ha-ha-la. Nothing to know. Raya. Naya. The water.
Aman. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, that gives us sweet savor. Thank you. So be it.
I can put that in there. Imagine Wapanya Yerushalayim.
Stand and face Jerusalem.
Okay. Barakatah Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai.
Barakatah Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai.
Ha-ha-la. Nothing to know. Shabbat. B'Shalom. The water.
Aman. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, that gives us the Sabbath in peace. Thank you. So be it.
Okay. Psalms 121. Anasha, Ayanyamya, Hohoyam, Ma'aya, Yabu'a, Isaiah, Yabu'a, Ma, Yahweh, Sha'aisha, Shemayim, Wa'aratiza, Ra'a, Yanathan, Lamawat, Regalia, Yala'a, Nawam, Shashamaya, Hana, Yala'a, Nawam, Wala'a, Yeshen, Shashamamar, Yashua, Yahweh, Shemaya, Yahweh, Tazaria, Ayo, Yanyamya, Yad, Hashemash, Yala'a, Hakaya, Bayawam, Wala'a, Halabana, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashema, Makor, Rai, Yashimor, Napesha, Yahweh, Yashimor, Hawarata, Wabu'aya, Ma'aitha, Wa'ai, I will Amen.
Psalm 121 in English. I will lift up my eyes to the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Israelite Credo. Shema Yahshua.
Shema Yahshua.
Elohim, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yahshua, Yahweh, Elohim, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yahshua, Yahweh, Elohim, Yahweh, Echad.
Hear Israel, Yahweh our power, Yahweh is one.
Okay, Lord's Prayer. Abanoah, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shemkah, Yahweh, Malakwavka, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashemayim, Nakalanoah, Lachon, Ko, Yawam, Wasalachalo, Chawathino, Chasalachalo, Chawathino, Wala'ah, Fabia Noah, Banasai One, Abo, Hawashaya, Mayan, Right, Kaya, Laka, Hamarakwa, Waha'ara, Wahathapara,
Amen. The Lord's Prayer in English. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. 10 Commandments. La'ayahaya, Laka, Alahaya, Akaya, Panya.
Thou shalt have no other powers before me.
Number 2, La'a, Tha'ina, Laka, Fasal, Wala'a, Tha'ibada.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, nor serve them.
Number 3, La'a, Thalach, Shem, Yahweh, Bashawa.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy power in vain.
Number 4, Zakar, Hayawam, Hashabbat, Laquadashwa.
Remember the Sabbath day too, keep it holy.
Number 5, Kabad, Abaka, Ya'amaka.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
Number 6, La'a, Tharatazah.
Thou shalt not kill, murder.
Number 7, La'a, Thana'a.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Number 8, La'a, Thagana.
Thou shalt not steal.
Number 9, La'a, Tha'ina, Shakur.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
Number 10, La'a, Thachamad, Kol, Asherah, La'ra'aika.
Thou shalt not covet anything which is thy neighbor.
What's going on with that, man? Hashem Yashai.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives us the law.
Israel Yishabi.
Take seats.
Okay. I'm trying to be coughing all day on class. No, people don't like it when we cough in class. Oh man, it's an inside joke, but somebody commented on the fact that one day I was coughing too much. I'm like, damn, I couldn't control the fact that I was coughing, man. It wasn't like I just purposely coughed online. Damn. Give me a break, man.
That's all you want to do.
All I was trying to do was cough all day and disrupt class because I want to cough. Okay. Once again, it's for tuning in. We're going to go into Daniel chapter 11 today. Just a brief recap. Before we go into Daniel 11, we've started off this entire Greek segment going into the history of Greek culture, the history of the fact that the Greeks didn't really have a culture at all, and how they took a bunch of different nations' cultures and made it theirs. Yep. And then after they had a reputation of having this great culture from lying, then they sat back here and said everybody else's culture meant nothing.
Yeah, they copy and pasted their culture.
And then they said everybody else's was beneath them or after them.
Yeah.
After we went into that for a few weeks, and we went into the Ptolemies, and really hyper-focusing not on the Ptolemies, but the Septuagint being written. Yep. And the history behind that, because that's an important time in history to go over and explain how the Bible was translated into Greek language and how that Bible was being circulated from that time on to our people that were scattered all throughout the world. Whereas where the Greek language became the number one language around the world at the time. I'm good. That's good. So with all that being the case, we've kind of exhausted those classes and those concepts. Now we're going to be going into Daniel chapter 11. And Daniel 11, the meat and potatoes of the topic goes into the king of the north and the king of the south, and the constant struggle between the king of the north and the king of the south. what we're going to read and go into was that the king of the north is an Edomite kingdom, and the king of the south is an Edomite kingdom. The king of the south is the Ptolemaic kingdom, and the king of the north is the Seleucid Empire. And the reason that has meaning in this topic, because we're still dealing with the Greek Empire. And Daniel's 11, Daniel's 8, a lot of these chapters in between Daniel's is giving us the history of the Greek Empire. And this is why we're taking our time dealing with the Greek Empire. So Daniel's 11 goes into the struggles between the two strongest of the four realms that the Greeks control.
So they broke it into 4 parts.
Yeah, we're going to go into that too, but the two strongest realms of the Edomite nation were clashing after Alexander's death. And Daniel's 11 chronicles these fights and these years of just fighting after territory and fighting and striving after territory. And it's just a countless just occurrence of one fight after another, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people dying just over a turf and a block. You know, it's funny, Esau talks about the black man about dying over a corner, which is ridiculous and stupid why we fight over corners. Yeah. But they fight over seaports.
Land grabs,
seaports, access to minerals and natural resources, and they'll kill millions of people for the same, just for bigger money purposes.
They're bombing children for it.
And what's happening is we're going to go into this topic and go into this chapter in Daniel's 11. It deals with the Greek Empire, but it also deals with the fact that our people, Israel, were the ones that were having to deal with the consequences. And we were in the middle of Esau fighting for position and power. And we were the ones that were the soldiers on both sides fighting and striving for territory that really wasn't ours. And we had no control and jurisdiction over it.
Trapped in the middle.
We were trapped in the middle, and that's what Daniel's 11 deals with. And then also towards the end of Daniel's 11, it kind of gives us a forecast of how the king of the south and the king of the north will continue to fight in the future for the same reasons, the same motivations, the same purposes, the same greed, the same desire for conquest. It's the same point. Mm-hmm. And it just goes, the culprits turn from the Seleucid Empire and the Ptolemaic Empire to America and Russia. And you'll start seeing the parallels that all these existences that we're in right now is about fighting for power, rulership, and control of jurisdictions and natural resources.
I mean, now we got the current event-wise, we got Greenland possibly getting annexed to be a state, possibly Canada,
and Panama,
and Panama,
and all of this.
Jamaica.
And what we're going to read, this chapter kind of gives insight on how the Bible is a geopolitical book. Because why else is the Most High going to sit back here and go into all the details of the Greek Empire and all the strivings and the wars between these nations if it doesn't have to do with our people also?
Absolutely. If we could read one verse too, St. John chapter 14, verse 29, and explains that why would the Most High, why is this important, and why did the Most High put this in the Bible? St. John chapter 14, verse 29.
I come in and salute that.
Yeah, let's get crying.
Yeah.
Karaya, Shah Shabbatah, Bana Shah, Bana Shahala.
Karaya, Shah Shabbatah, Bana Shah, Bana Shahala. I'm with you. What? Yahweh Hashem Yahshabakatam.
Yahweh Hashem Yahshabakatam.
All right.
St. John chapter 14, verse 29. And now, I have told you before, it come to pass.
So Christ says that the Most High in Christ tells us that they tell us things before it comes to what?
Pass.
So we're reading about the Syrian wars, which is the Greek Empire, but was the Greek Empire in power when Daniel wrote about it? No, it was not. So it was written, it was prophesied before before it even happened. Why would the Most High in Christ tell us about a war and many wars that's going to come to pass with accuracy and such vivid details before it ever happens? Read on.
Right. And now I have told you before it come to pass that when it come to pass,
So that when you do see it, what happens?
ye might believe.
So then, why does the Most High tell us things in advance before it happens?
Ye might believe.
So you can believe the accuracy of the Bible.
Yep.
You can believe that the Most High is behind and he's putting the strings behind the theaters of war.
Now, what Esau would say, they'll sit back here, and I bet you there is an Edomite out there that will say this. They'll sit back and say, yeah, the tone and the writing tone of Daniel's 11 changes from Daniel's 10. So that kind of lets you know that this is questionable if Daniel's 11 connects with the rest of the books of Daniel. They'll sit back and play angles like that to disprove and discredit the fact that black men was sitting back here prophesying about scenarios happening 200 plus years beforehand.
Yeah.
And we're going to go on to that also, because we're going to kind of go on from verse 1 explains the time period that Daniel started writing this prophecy. But keep going.
No, that's it. That's
Okay.
verse 29.
The Most High says things of war.
Yeah, that he said that when it do come to pass, then you might what?
You might believe.
So it's for the purpose of trusting the Bible. You can trust the Most High. You can trust the Bible.
And we're going to sit back and read it, and you're going to see how it fits completely in with history, and there's no doubt about it. In Daniel's 11, if you understand the tone of the class and the breakdown, this is something that if they're given time, you can use to prove the Bible is real. Now, Deuteronomy 28 is the simplest and clearest definition of that, but there's many different type of chapters that explain, that tie in the validity of these scriptures and the validity of the prophecies of these scriptures.
Come.
But let's get going. Let's get into it with Daniel's chapter 11. And listen, it's going to take some time. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of history. It might not be pleasing to the ears. It's not like a bunch of highs and lows and all these extremes, but it's important that we take our time on each of these chapters to make sure that there's clarity so we can move forward on the topic. So in order to really properly clearly explain Daniel's 11, we're going to have to go back a little bit so we can properly go forward. Like I said earlier in class, we focused over the last few weeks about the writing of the Septuagint and the conditions of our people, that what we went through in order for the Most High to open the door for the Septuagint to even be written in the first place. So we hyper focus on that, but now we have to go back earlier to the inception of the Greek Empire and also the Persian and Mede Empire at its height, and then we'll be able to clearly and smoothly go forward in the topic. So Daniel chapter 11 verse 1. Let's do this, and if there's a lack of clarity in our explanation, say something online or in class, and we'll double back and make sure there's clarity. We want to make sure everybody understands the topic.
Right.
So let's do this.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 1. Also, in the first year of Darius the Mede.
So listen, this is Daniel being the advisor for Darius the Mede. Okay, now Darius the Mede was a satrap or a governor for King Cyrus during the Persian and Mede Empire. So this is when Darius, the satrap or the governor, was in charge, and Daniel was working for him. Don't forget, Daniel was working for King Nebuchadnezzar and the different kings under his administration. And then when Babylon fell, the Persian and Mede Empire picked him up and allowed him to be an advisor for their empire. Now, don't forget, King Cyrus, who was the head of the Persian and Mede Empire, had a vast empire. So even though Cyrus was the top dog, in each of these countries and provinces, there were governors and leaders in charge of each of these districts. So in the district of Babylon, in that area, Daniel was there serving Darius the Mede, who was just an underboss or governor for King Cyrus. Does that make sense? Okay, let's continue.
Also, I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I, stood to confirm and to strengthen them.
Daniel's job was to give him advice and to back his moves in the service of the Persian Empire that just came in and wiped out the Babylonians. But let's continue.
Verse 2. And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than they all.
So now Daniel was in a prophetic mode, and he's going to explain from the time of the Persian and Mede Empire what's going to happen with the Persians. He's saying, listen, behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia. The 3 kings that stood up in Persia, Cyrus the Great, who was the first, who was prophesied about in Isaiah chapter 40. The second king was Cambyses the second, which was Cyrus's son. Okay, so let's just get a time period. King Cyrus ruled from 539 to 529 BC. His son Cambyses came into power in 529, from 529 to 522, so he didn't have a very long reign. The next legitimate emperor was Darius the First. He was in power from 521 to approximately 486 BC. King Darius was the one who allowed the Jews to finalize the building of their temple. For those of you who don't remember, Cyrus authorized Israel to return back to their homes and rebuild their temple, but he died before they were able to get the supplies needed to repair it. Cambyses wasn't buying us. They canceled on the construction. Darius the First, through his relationship with Zerubbabel, opened the door for the temple to get finished. That's 3 kings right there, right? Mm-hmm. Read on in where it says, and the 4th.
God. And the 4th shall be far richer than they all.
The 4th king in the succession of kings was King Xerxes, the one that we've seen in the movie 300, which I doubt he looked like that at all. I don't think kings sat back had their entire body shaved, except for their eyebrows, and walk around with his feet out, these little dangly chains around his leg,
with some lipstick on,
lipstick, eyeliner,
with a chain from the nose.
That's what I'm saying. Like this, he had a little Prince vibe to him. Like what's going on? I doubt very seriously that King Xerxes of a rugged, powerful empire was walking around here. Listen, looking like that. I doubt it very seriously.
Yeah, he had a diaper on.
Yeah.
Listen, there's a lot of things that didn't look right with that picture. But scripturally,
people were offended though. People were offended
because it was off. It was not even in that. Gods of Egypt was horrible. Y'all saw Gods of Egypt?
Bad.
It was one of the worst movies ever. There was one black guy in Egypt. No, there was one dark-skinned man in the entire land of Egypt. One dark-skinned guy. Like, that doesn't make any sense. One brother? Oh, my gosh. Okay, so, with all that being the case, read verse 2 again, from the top.
God. Daniel chapter 11 and verse 2. And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer than they all.
King Xerxes was far richer than the other 3 predecessors that was before him. Read on.
And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia.
Xerxes was the king that had the money and the power and the resources used to pay for that army and those what do you call those armies that are paid guys,
merchants.
Yeah, he paid those mercenaries to go out there to Greece and try to extend his kingdom further. Okay, so Xerxes was the one who stirred up the Greeks. Read on.
Verse 3. And a mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great dominion.
He says, and a mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great dominion and according to his will. That's talking about Alexander. What's happening is he's giving, when you're reading these type of prophetic topics and chapters, the chapters and topics are giving you snapshots of the time. They're not giving you all the specific details, all of the story about the 300 and all the naval battles that the Greeks and the Persians had, and all the battles.
They're not giving you weapons count, death tolls.
It's not giving you all those details. He's giving you snippets that kind of help keep you on course with events. So Xerxes is the one that initiated the wars with the Greeks. But there were many kings after Xerxes. You had Artaxerxes the first. Then you had Xerxes the second. You had Artaxerxes the second. You had a bunch of different guys. You had what's his name? Darius the second. And you had Darius the third. You had a bunch of different kings that led up to the time where Alexander was in power. Okay? Well, it doesn't go into Alexander's father and all the different leaders of the Greeks and how they had to come together, and that the fighting that Xerxes initiated eventually unified Greece, and they were strong enough to push forward and eventually beat them. But he's letting you know that when Xerxes came into power, that was the start of the Most High waking up the Greeks and getting them ready and letting them know it was their time soon. Through these wars that Xerxes initiated. So let's go back to verse 3 again. Am I going too fast? Are we clear? Are we good? Because there's a lot of information in each chapter. And if I just run through, we can run through it and be done today, but there's not going to be any understanding. So give me verse 3 again.
God. Daniel chapter 11 verse 3. And a mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will.
So he's saying this next king that rises up after the Persian Median Empire have their fill will have a greater dominion and a greater reach than the Persian and Median Empire had. And the Persians had a great reach and extension in their empire. So the Greeks had a greater dominion than the Persians had. Let's hold this and go to 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1 through 7.
God. 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. Page 113.
I'm ready.
God. And it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim.
Listen, Philip, the son of Macedonia, came out of the land of Chittim. And Philip, yes, Chittim, it's spelled different. But it's Chittim with the K or Chittim with the CHE, which is the same thing. Point is, Philip united the entire country of Greece, brought them together and got them ready and prepared them militarily to go to war. He was killed. It was said that the Persians killed him or assassinated him. It really can't be proven, but that's what it was said. That was the rallying cry. His father rose up. Took him a few years to earn the right to lead his people in Greece. And then let's continue.
And it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes.
And that's what ends up happening. We went into this in different times. How Darius sat back here in a very short time, wiped out Darius twice in battle, worked his way down south, took out the Phoenicians within a month or so, took out the Philistines, went through our land. We were all dressed in white and purple. We had a connection. He saw this in a vision when he had in Macedonia. He worked his way down to Egypt. They embraced him also. After he left Egypt, he went and finished off the Persian and Median Empire in Gilgamesh, if I'm not mistaken. Point is, the process of him getting to power and run the entire world was swift and decisive.
That's why I had the leopard skin hat.
And he was known for his swiftness because of that leopard skin skull cap that he had. But let's continue.
Okay. It says that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece.
Because he was the first world emperor over Greece. Read on.
And made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth.
To the ends of the earth, as far as they could see, as far as they can imagine. When it says the ends of the earth continued going the direction it went, but as far as they desired, as far as their capacity to understand, in their head, going to India was the end of the earth. There was no more there. Okay?
In the movie, he wanted to go further, and they're like, listen, man, we want to, it's a movie.
Yeah, that's why I say, in their mind, they went as far as they can go.
The known world. That's why I call it the known world.
But let's continue.
Okay. And went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him.
Meaning, when Alexander was in power, he didn't resist. He didn't face a lot of resistance. Now, he was only in power for 12 years. But after that initial push, everything was quiet after that. Okay, after we wiped out the Persians, there was peace in all the realm. Read on.
Okay. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him.
And then he got to the point where he had this power, and then you couldn't tell him anything. He had this grand empire, then his heart got lifted up, and he had all this money flowing, tributaries and servants, everything going his direction, everything the way he wanted.
And he had different projects going at the same time. With the big statue over in Alexandria, that was it was Zeus standing between the harbor of Alexandria. All that was commissioned. He didn't live to see a lot of the projects that he initiated, but now that he had the power and the money, now he was going to enrich his kingdom and enhance it.
And you can see why the Most High took him out. He's sitting back here putting Zeus in damn Alexandria, knowing damn well you heard of the living power in Jerusalem. And like most of these nations, they'll give an acknowledgement of the Heavenly Father, but then they'll go do their own thing. Just like Nebuchadnezzar acknowledged the living power, but still made a golden idol of himself. And that was the beginning of his descent. So when it explains that his heart got lifted up, how does men's heart get lifted up? They start giving credit and respect to other gods, other idols, or they make themselves a god.
Yep.
So the Most High like, okay, you are my servant until you start making it about you. Now I got to give you the syphilis. or now the acts that would make a man get syphilis, now I'm gonna let it happen. It ain't like he was sitting back here, he just started doing syphilis acts. He was syphilifilin for many years. He was creating acts that would make a person get that for a long time.
Yeah.
But now the Most like, I'm gonna let you get hit now. If you want to sit back here and have pride and ego,
pay for that. Yeah.
And you want to make yourself like an idol or give the credit to Zeus and not to have the real Heavenly Father's name. Okay? So, for those who know how people get syphilis, you know. But let's continue.
Verse 5. And after these things, he fell sick.
There you go. The Most High got him sick. And is going to allow him to get removed from this earth. Like we read in other chapters and classes, like in 1 Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 12 through 17, he lets us know, for us, he stings us immediately when we make mistakes to preserve us and give us the opportunity to repent. The nations, he's going to let them do whatever they do until the wickedness gets too high up to where he has to remove you. So the Most High allowed Alexander in these 12 years to run his course, do what he's going to do on this earth, not check him until the end when he removes him. Okay? So this is what he's about to. He's going to remove Alexander. He's going to run his course after these 12 years. Read on.
And after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore, he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth.
His servants, or his generals, his generals, was Antigonus, Ptolemy, Seleucid, Lysimachus, and Cassander. Those were 5 of his top generals that were raised with him and have been there from the beginning in the battles to get him to that spot. So he brings 5 of these generals initially. Read on.
And parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive.
Okay.
Verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died.
So he reigned 12 years and he split his kingdom up to 5 of his top generals. And then he passes. Okay. Hold that, because we'll get back to that eventually, but you can put it down. And let's go to verse 4 in Daniel's 11. Daniel's 11 and verse 4.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 4. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken.
So he's telling you still about Alexander and this great dominion that he had for 12 years. Okay? From approximately 333 BC to 321 BC. Okay? He had his realm in pocket and under control. So after that 12 years went by, came and went, his kingdom shall be broken, meaning broken up in different realms. The entire kingdom didn't collapse. It was just broken up in different realms and jurisdictions. Read on.
And shall be divided toward the 4 winds of heaven.
Okay, the final breaking up of territory was broken up into 4 different realms. That was the final breakup. There was initially 5 realms that the kingdom was split up in, and through wars and through fighting, specifically called the Wars of the Diadochi.
What's Diadochi?
The Wars of the Diadochi. The Wars of the Diadochi. Diadochi in Greek means the Wars of the Successors. Okay, so it was initially 5 realms. And we'll go into that a little bit in the Josephus. But it was initially 5 realms, broken up into 4 eventually. So continue.
God. It says, and shall be divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, and not to his posterity.
And it says, and not to his posterity. Now it's not his children, because posterity means children. His posterity was not talked about in Maccabees because he had children from foreign wives. He didn't have any children from Greek women.
So
he had children, they're half-bleeds. They're half-breeds. Half-breeds.
Yeah.
And because they were half-breeds, his generals didn't acknowledge that. They weren't going to acknowledge legitimacy by a bunch of half-breed love kids. So that's why they didn't acknowledge it, and what they ended up doing is killing all those children off, so that they wouldn't come up and grow up and claim the throne. That's how the Greeks did it.
Unlike Israel.
That's how the Greeks. That's what the Greeks did, but they would just call it infanticide. Yeah, make it sound like more professional and refined. They killed off children. They killed off quote unquote bastard children to eliminate any type of question over who gets the throne and who gets the power over regions and realms. This is completely cutthroat scenarios. But even if the child wants no claim or wants to just stay back and doesn't want any part of this, doesn't matter. You might want part of it. And this is how the Greeks rolled, very treacherous.
To defend the throne.
Just to maintain their power and to keep their control and authority so that their children can maintain the throne after them. So, none of Alexander the Greek's posterity survived or rose up to have an opportunity to take these four realms over. What you gonna say?
No, I was just saying. You look at the king stories, and we deal with brothers introducing foreign women.
Yep.
And then their children have both those customs. They have the customs of their mothers and the customs of their fathers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it kind of diminishes the kingdom. Yep.
But they're not. They don't give a damn about that type of issue. They just want to sit back and make sure that they're already fighting. What you're going to see is just a bunch of Edomites fighting for power, one generation after another. They're just trying to make sure that the path to the power structure stays controlled. Okay. It's just about maintaining power and wealth and position. Okay. So, none of Alexander's posterity survived. Okay? Let's continue.
All right. Nor according to his dominion, which he ruled. Mm-hmm. For his kingdom shall be plucked up.
Meaning they plucked it up from his hands and from his progeny's hands. And his 5 generals, who turned into 4, used their influence and their power to subjugate the entire world the way they saw fit. Read on.
Even for others beside those.
Okay, so let's go real quick back to Maccabees. I want verse 8 and 9 now. So First Maccabees 1, verse 8 and 9.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 8. And his servants bear rule, everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves.
They put crowns on themselves. They were not going to let Alexander's half-breed children get the throne. They eliminated those threats. The wives, the children, out of here. And they put crowns on themselves. And they determined, hey, we're going to break up this land this way, break up that land that way. Ptolemy said, I'm going to take Egypt and the islands and ports surrounding that area. We'll go into it in Josephus. But they started divvying up the land, divvying up the property, based off these 5 generals. Let's continue.
God. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years.
So once again, these 4 generals end up just maintaining these jurisdictions from one son to the other. Okay?
And the Maccabees is giving you the short form of what happened.
Yes, exactly.
Because this is going through a process of a couple of years.
Yes.
They're just summing it up to collectively what's going on. But we read the more expanded version in the book of Daniel.
Yep, Daniel's and Josephus. Mm-hmm. Because this, air quote, Wars of the Diadochi, that was 20 years of fighting.
Yeah.
And it was 4 separate wars. I mean, this is before the Syrian wars. You have the Wars of the Diadochi. Then you have the Syrian wars. It's just constant bloodshed, constant death, just for small territories. It's really insane. But it gives you a glimpse into the mind of Esau and what he's willing to give up just for seaports, just for islands,
position,
just for strategic shipping ports. So it gives you an understanding as to what he's willing to go through now to capture Ukraine. Eastern Ukraine. Western Ukraine was already set up to sustain Eastern Ukraine and to eventually get into Russia. We're already at approximately 750,000 to 1 million Ukrainians dead.
In what February?
This is the 3rd year. They burned out 1 million people and billions of dollars, almost trillions of dollars of resources to get more trillions. I'm gonna say billions. They're giving up billions of dollars of resources to gain access to trillions of dollars of resources. So in their head, it's worth it.
Small price to pay for just 1 million people, right?
1 million people and a couple $100 billion of money and resources and weaponry to get trillions of dollars of natural resources. This is the thinking. So as we're going through it, it kind of gives you an idea of how human life doesn't even matter to these people. And the bottom line matters. So we'll go into that. So what verse we at? Verse 9?
Yeah, we're still on verse 9.
Read verse 9 again from the top.
God. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth.
And you're going to start seeing the level of wickedness that would the influence. There's wickedness on multiple levels. It was the wicked Hellenistic influence that was pushed around the earth. The wickedness of just the use of manpower and the use of military and soldiers to wipe out generations of people just to get small land areas. The wickedness was on different levels across the board, and it was enhanced by this no people called the Greeks. Let that go. We're going to go to Josephus, book 12, chapter 1, paragraph 1. And we're going to take our time going over this information also.
Page 308.
Johanna, around 11:45 head out. You got 20 minutes.
God.
Read that correct.
Antiquity of the Jews, book 12, chapter 1, paragraph 1. Now when Alexander, king of Macedon, had put an end to the dominion of the Persians and had settled the affairs of Judea after the forementioned manner, he ended his life. And as his government fell among many, Antigonus obtained Asia.
Antigonus the first obtained Asia. We're going to sit back here and do a little map, little map information. Let me see. There it goes. Okay, so Antigonus had Asia, and Antigonus's land on the map is the orange color. So Antigonus's land initially was Anatolia, which is present-day Turkey. You had Syria, you had Israel, you had Phoenicia. He had Antioch. That whole region was his. So that was a strong region that was in his possession. So Antigonus, read on.
God. It says, Antigonus obtained Asia. Seleucus, Babylon.
Seleucus had from Babylon eastward, all the way to like Parthia, which is like ancient India and going further in the regions close to China. So Babel is the Babylonian kingdom, it's the Persian Mede kingdom, it's Parthia, it's everything going east. India, okay, that was Seleucus. That's in the gray in the map. So Seleucus the first, Antigonus the first,
Okay.
Ptolemy the first, because that's how they established their lineage.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
God. And of the other nations which were there, Lysimachus governed the Hellespont.
The Hellespont, if you see the orange Antigonus arena, and you'll see Lysimachus in the yellow, which is northern Greece or Macedonia. It's the realm between, there is a port. There's a port in between the Lysimachus region and Antigonus's land. You'll see a city called Bithynia on top of that. So when Lysimachus's range or realm is Thrace and Bithynia, Thrace is west of the Hellespont, which is that seaport. Bithynia is east of that seaport. Okay, so it's Lysimachus's region is a strategic port city that's necessary for trade and finance. This is all about trade, finance, money, power, and resources. The same thing that these nations are fighting over now. Did y'all know that China owns a seaport in Mexico? China owns a seaport in Mexico for the same reasons. China has a deal with Panama to be able to sit back and put their ports or their shipping through the Panama Canal. All these things are for finance purposes. This is why the United States wants to come in there and rip up the deal that Panama has with China. They're saying Jimmy Carter shouldn't have gave up Panama in the first place. It was ours. So they're going to sit back and say, I don't care what type of deal China's giving you. We're going to sit back here and take over the land because we want to take over the land. And that's how they're rolling. So everything that we're reading is about capturing seaports, positioning, land, natural resources. Trade routes, quicker trade routes. That's why they're talking about taking Greenland over. It's about trade routes up there. How can we circumvent Esau's hands in the Suez Canal? Esau wants to put a Ben Gurion Canal in between where the Palestinian land was being ravaged. All of these moves are being done for further financial gain. So anyway, Thrace and Bithynia was Lysimachus' territory. It was northern Macedonia and the northern part of the present-day Turkey. Let's continue. And are we clear so far? Okay, let's continue.
Lysimachus governed the Hellespont, and Cassander possessed Macedonia.
And Macedonia was the southern part of Greece, which is in that green. So Cassander and his eventual lineage had control over southern Greece. Lysimachus had Thrace and Bithynia. Antigonus had Anatolia, which was Turkey, all around Tyre and Zidon, Syria, and you can see also that Antigonus had these islands that were outside of Turkey, which has a lot to do with shipping and stops where these ships have to stop and resupply and things of that nature. So
those territories are money spots. They're like,
it's all money spots, and what you're going to read about is these islands were a heavy contention in these Syrian wars also. So I'm trying to give the backdrop as to why these Edomites just couldn't sit in their land and just be happy in the land they got, because they always want more. Everything is about more. So these are the five. No, this is four so far, right? Continue.
As did Ptolemy, the son of Lagus, seized upon Egypt.
And so Ptolemy wanted Egypt. At least the northern part of Egypt, you see, it was upper. He didn't really want the south because there was nothing there for him. But having that upper region, you have access to making your money and building your financial resources up through shipping, trade, and commerce. And I'm taking my time explaining the shipping and trade and commerce angle because that is what everybody is doing now. When you sit back here and you're reading about Putin is in China, Putin is in Thailand, Putin is in all these countries, or United States is in Saudi Arabia. They're there to do business. They're there to sit back here. What they're trying to do, even right now, the United States wants to talk to Saudi Arabia about bottoming out the price of oil to break Russia. But if Saudi Arabia lowers the price of their oil, it's going to ruin their country. But the U.S. thing, I don't really give a damn if you ruin your country, as long as you ruin Russia too. So all these moves are economic warfare, which leads up to actual physical warfare, nation versus nation. And this is what's happening with the king in the north and the south during the 300s until the 27s when the Romans came into power, and even going to now with the king in the north and the south fighting for power and position even to this day. So let's continue.
Line 3. And while these princes ambitiously strove one against another.
Stop. Now he says these princes ambitiously strove one against another. Those ambitious strivings were explained through the wars of the Diadochi, 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 and that means successors. It was the wars of the successors of Alexander. It's the wars of the successors of Alexander. Okay? And these wars, when did Alexander died approximately 321 BC, right? Guess when the wars of the Diadochi started? The wars of the successors started.
Probably 323.
321.
Yeah.
It was right after. It's literally within a month or two. It was within a month or two after the land was split. They start going to war. The same damn time.
Yeah.
It's the truth. This will show the spirit and nature of Esau. So they split these realms up in 5. And it took 20 years. It was 4 wars within a 20-year period, fighting and jockeying over position so that they can get more land.
To give people freedom.
Yeah, right. Now that's what they would. That's what they're probably spinning it. Operation Save Them from Antigonus. But it's really, I want resources. It's all about power, money, and respect. So, what ends up happening is in that 20-year span in the wars of the Diadochi, Antigonus the First ends up falling. And really the only reason he fell, I'm going to go back and push the button again. The only reason Antigonus fell is because 3 of the kings and the princes went against him to fight him. You had Seleucus the First, you had Cassander and Lysimachus came together to fight Antiochus the First, and they defeated him. Ptolemy stayed out of the war, but the other 3 came together, gained up on him, took him out, and divvied out the space so that they can have their power. Now, what you're going to realize is that Seleucus took a lot of the land in Syria, and he took a major portion of the land in Anatolia, which is Turkey. So Seleucus got a big chunk of the reward in that fight, and you'll see this is the result of the victory. The result of the victory is he got property and power, at least half of the territory in Asia, and he had all of Syria. So that was a big win for him. Now, Ptolemy got a portion of that area in the southern Syria, but that's how it happened. That's how it started. And that was the final mapping, at least as of 301 BC, when those wars of the Diadochi stopped. And one of the major wars at that particular time was the Battle of Ipsus. The Battle of Ipsus was the deciding war, the last war that ended up turning the territories this direction. Okay, well, I told you this is going to be one of those heavy informational classes. This is not my choice, but it's important. We are going over the Bible. This is Daniel chapter 11. This is now I was going to go knowledge because we want to go knowledge. And this is the Bible. Okay. So, are we clear on that so far? Any questions? No questions?
I had a question, bro.
What's the question, man?
Well, because this is like the beginning of Esau's empire. They have, they have like the same kind of, the same, like it's obviously our people are intermingled with them.
We'll go on that in a second. Yeah.
That's all I was trying to know. It's not just a bunch of 1,000 white boys out there just getting it.
No, in shorts.
Yeah. Boat shoes out. Getting it out.
In boats.
Yeah, they have those boat shoes out.
Oh my gosh.
They love to wear those.
Yeah, the burgundy boat shoes.
Yeah, what are those shoes called out?
They were Sperry's out. They're all the
Sperry's
Sperry's out.
They don't have like thigh hugger shorts and Sperry's and
my god.
Abercrombie shirts with swords out.
Don't forget, our people were in Greece too.
Yep.
There was a lot of black guys in Greece with Sperry's on. It was, huh? Those are facts. So
that's true.
That's funny, but it's very true. So I'm gonna read or maybe can you read? I'll read it. This is in the life of Greece real quick. It's page 579, and that's when it brings up based on how it affects all these wars and how it was going to affect our people. Okay, it said the history of Judea in the Hellenistic age turns on 2 conflicts the external struggle between Seleucid Asia and Ptolemaic Egypt for Palestine. And this is the major reason why we're going into Daniel's 11. Okay? Those wars of the Diadochi were just an initial skirmish to set the tone for what's about to happen next. Once again, the history of Judea, our people, in the Hellenistic age, turns on two conflicts. The external struggle between Seleucid Asia. Seleucid Asia is real quick.
This is in Chinese Asia, right?
Asia is talking about in Turkey.
Yeah.
Seleucid Asia is talking about the territory in Turkey, the territory where Paul was born in Antioch, which is northern Syria. That whole coastline that had our people in it, we were involved in these wars. So he says, one of the struggles amongst our people, one of those struggles was the fact that we kept getting pulled into this external struggle of the Seleucid Empire versus the Ptolemaic Empire. The king of the north versus the king of the south. We kept being mixed into this battle and pulled into this battle. Okay, then it said, and the internal struggle between the Hellenistic and the Hebrew way of life. Those are the two battlegrounds that our people are having to endure
That's the effect.
during this period. It's the physical wars we're getting dragged into to support the Ptolemies, and then the physical wars that were used. We were being pulled to the Seleucid army and the Ptolemaic armies. There was a physical confrontation. We're fighting our own people because we was on one side or the other side, and then it was the internal struggles and wars we had to make sure we kept our Hebrew ways versus turning over and following their Hellenistic principles. So these were the two battlegrounds that we're enduring during this period of time. So this is also how Daniel's 11 ties into why we should be reading it. Because from the outside, a person like, this is just white history, man. Who gives a damn? Why is this white history in the Bible? I thought it's a black man's book. Well, it is a black man's book, but because the Greeks are the ones in power, and we're the ones that are subjugated to them by being their soldiers.
With the pawn.
This has to do with us too.
Mm-hmm.
We're pawns in this person's war.
And if we know anything about slavery, we were their slaves too back then also.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did the mediocre work, and we were allowed to become soldiers and policemen. So we did a lot of their dirty work, even as slaves.
Just like Jake was in damn Civil War.
Yeah.
And in World War I. We were in there fighting this white man's war in the midst of these wars. And so this is not a new thing.
It always strikes me funny when you read about the brothers that fought for the South Confederacy.
Yeah.
It's like, how are you doing this?
They was repping red, man. They was repping red.
They were brothers fighting the Confederacy.
Yeah, they were.
And they were brothers fighting for the Union now.
Yeah.
And it's just confusion.
Man. They was fighting.
Because if y'all win, you know we going back to the captivity, right?
Yeah.
And it was
Or
like
harder, the old style of captivity.
Con. So, but this is the situation. This is what was happening back in the Greek time and the present day time. We kept getting brought in on these geopolitical battles and wars. So, I'm going to read it again. The history of Judea in the Hellenistic age turns on two conflicts. One, the external struggle between Seleucid Asia and Ptolemaic Egypt for Palestine. We're about to read these Syrian wars. These Syrian wars are wars for the Palestine region, our people's region. So we're getting pulled multiple directions in order to determine who's going to sit back here and win the region. And this is what Daniel's 11, the chapter in its totality, is talking about. Then it said, and the internal struggle between the Hellenic and the Hebraic ways of life. And we're going to go into that after we get through the external struggles. Once we get through the external wars, then we'll go on to those internal wars where we want to sit back here and be like Greeks and go on the Olympics and wear togas and work out and do all that craziness
and vote in their voting booths.
Huh.
Yep.
In their political campaigns.
Huh.
We fought for voting rights then too.
Wow.
So we're going to be going into that aspect also later on. But for now, we're going to go into the internal wars. Those external wars, and see how we were affected based on those external wars. And it says, in the original division of Alexander's empire, Judea had been awarded to Ptolemy. Okay? The Seleucids never accepted this decision. They saw themselves separated from the Mediterranean and coveted the wealth that might come from the trade that passed through Damascus and Jerusalem. In the resultant wars, Ptolemy I won, and Judea remained subject to the Ptolemies for more than a century. From 312 BC to 198 BC, we were subject to the Ptolemaic realm for the most part. A lot of us, some of us were on the other side too. We'll explain that in a little bit. It paid an annual tribute of 8,000 talents. That's us. We paid the Ptolemaic Empire 8,000 talents of gold annually. Okay? But despite this burden, the land prospered. Judea was left a large measure of self-government under the hereditary high priests of Jerusalem and the great assembly. So with that saying, we went over it the last few weeks. When the leadership was in order, the Most High kept blessing us. Even though we had to pay out, it said 8,000 talents of gold annually, we still had enough to sustain ourselves through the entire process as long as we were in order. When we were out of order, that 8,000 talents was still expected, and they would raise those taxes and make that 8,000 be higher, and the land produce less. So we were under a pinch financially when we weren't living properly. So that was the dynamic we always faced amongst in our battle. If we were on point, we'd be able to take care of the nations and ourselves. So once again, we'll go into that dynamic later, but the reason we're even explaining the first part is that is how Daniel's 11, the tone of it is. It's all the wars and the effects that it had on our people. So I want to jump real quick. Let's go back to the Josephus Queria and get book 12, chapter 3, and paragraph 1. No, did I say, yeah, let me see, book 12, chapter 3, paragraph 1. Yes, sir.
Right. Page 315. It says,
hold on 1 second. I got to get there. I want you to read the top part too.
God. The title.
Yep.
God. Antiquity of the Jews, book 12, chapter 3, paragraph 1, page 315. How the Jews of Asia honored the nation of the Jews. No, it didn't
say the Jews of Asia.
It says how the kings of Asia honored the nation of the Jews and made them citizens of those cities which they built.
So, the kings of Asia is still talking about Edomites. The kings of Asia are referring to the Seleucid line of the empire. We read in book 12, chapter 1 and 2. Chapter 1 and 2 of book 12 focus on the Ptolemaic line. Chapter 3 focuses on the Seleucid line. Read the first part of the paragraph.
God. It says, the Jews also obtained honors from the kings of Asia.
So on top of the fact that the Ptolemies allowed the Bible to be translated, and the Ptolemies brought us into the military and all that good stuff, the Seleucid line was doing the same thing for us. They were using us. They were making us citizens. Read on.
God. It says, the Jews also obtained honors from the kings of Asia when they became their auxiliaries.
Auxiliaries were just people that they used for military and different type of services in their kingdom. Read on.
For Seleucus Nicator.
Seleucus Nicator was the first Seleucus. We read earlier about the first Ptolemy. Ptolemy Soter. Ptolemy I Soter. Seleucus I is Seleucus I Nicator. So Seleucus I was the first king of the Seleucid dynasty. Read on.
God made them citizens in those cities which he built in Asia and in the lower Syria.
So this is why there's a heavy Jewish Hebrew presence in Cilicia. Cilicia is in where? Anatolia is in Turkey. A lot of our people, we weren't just packed up in Egypt, in Alexandria. We were also in other cities in which we were given leadership positions and city civil positions and military positions, because we were known since the time that Alexander ran into us as being a what? A loyal nation of people.
Loyal nation.
We were loyal. We were dedicated. Hell, Ptolemy said, I'm going to make you a step above in citizenship than the damn Egyptians that I'm over. I trust you to do my bidding better than the Egyptians. But Seleucid saw the same thing when they came down and saw us locked in. So they were making us citizens in these countries also. Like Cilicia and in, what do you call it, Antioch and these different countries that were ran by the Seleucid line. Continue.
God, it says, and in the lower Syria, and in the metropolis itself.
The metropolis.
Mm-hmm. Antioch, and gave them privileges equal to those of the Macedonians and Greeks.
So once again, the Ptolemies gave us citizenship, so that the Seleucids gave us citizenship. But when you give Jake citizenship, we want to go to war for you then. You making us citizens.
Yeah.
Now we're not slaves.
We can vote.
Now we can vote. We can kill. We can die for you now.
And before
we go to war for you now.
Before, no slave could own territory or land.
Good. Mm-hmm. So now they made us citizens, but that poured us into their wars now too.
Well, that's the benefit.
That's my point. That's why they're making you citizens.
You could be a citizen.
This guy's 6'4".
I need you.
You're a citizen.
Yeah.
Shaq, I need you to get out there in front
That's
line.
what I'm saying, bro. LeBron, listen, man.
That's what it is.
You're a citizen. Let's put this helmet on.
Yeah. What's that dude?
Put these Sperry's on. These are military Sperry's.
Exactly.
The shield, these are the boot. This is the boot Sperry edition. You're ready to fight. Let's go.
That's the
this is what's happening. So we're being accepted and poured into their military from the king of the North Seleucid, and we're being poured in military from the Ptolemaic line. So now they have more warriors. Yes, they're making you a citizen, but they need your back too, right?
Yeah.
They need your back, your labor, your dedication, your warrior spirit. And this is what's happening. All these nations are pulling out the biggest, baddest in these different countries to help them fight their wars.
Just like George Washington. That's an old Hebrew point, but it's like George Washington had his slaves.
I don't know, man. Which one? I don't know about this Hebrew point.
No.
I never heard this one.
No, listen. It was said that George Washington had one of his slaves strategize and plan his battles. So the slaves were competent in war because they were slaves, of course, but they had skill sets. They didn't just come like all I could do is pick.
They weren't stepping fetch out here.
They were. I can't do nothing.
I don't know,
I can't do nothing. No, listen.
I get what the beef level is. I
could cook the best. I got the best gravy.
It wasn't
that. These slaves had skill sets. They had abilities, and so he assessed his slaves. And someone said, "Okay, cool, man. I need you to help me plan this war out."
Yeah.
They weren't just can't do nothing.
Well, that's my point. We're being used as pawns in these wars. Yeah. So yes, it's the king in the north versus the king in the south, and they're Edomites. But our people are being pitted against each other, and they're being affected by just simply the region that they were born and raised in. Okay? This is why I'm going into this paragraph 1 of chapter 3, explaining that the Seleucids were bringing us on board and giving us citizenship, just like the Ptolemies were giving us citizenship and putting us on board on their region and in their realm. Okay,
no different than us, be it for the West Coast or from the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, still slaves, still got here the same way, still got colonized, but just two different cultures.
Yep.
You know, two different mannerisms.
And we were being pushed to pick a side then and now. Okay, given benefits behind it.
Okay, I got the point. I got the name. Okay. Check this out. The slave who significantly helped George Washington during the American Revolutionary War, assisting him with planning and operations, was William Billy Lee.
I thought it would be like Buck or something now.
It was William Billy Lee.
Okay, that works.
Who served as Washington's personal valet and was considered one of his most trusted servants throughout the conflict.
Okay.
You assess what you got and you use what you got.
Listen, Jake has been in the middle of major wars from the beginning of time. And more times than not, we didn't get any credit for succeeding and being successful in these wars.
Yeah.
But this is what's happening here in this Greek time.
Yeah.
We're being pulled in these different wars, and many people are having to suffer and die because of it.
Yeah.
Okay? So, what we're going to do is let that paragraph 1 in chapter 3 go. And let's go back to Josephus, book 12, chapter 1, paragraph 1. I think we're at 1.5 now.
We're still on line 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So line 3 in chapter 1.
Okay. Line 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, we ain't finished yet.
We finished all the different names of the generals.
Well, in the last part of it.
Let's do this. And it says, while these princes ambitiously strove one against another. That's where we stopped at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
It says, and while these princes ambitiously strove one against another.
Matter of fact, hold that. Salakia. Hold that point. Now we're going back to Daniel's 11 and verse 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 5. And the king of the south shall be strong.
So what he's saying is that out of all these realms, the king of the south was the strongest initially. The king of the south shall be strong. So all of them had their jurisdiction and their land areas, but the king of the south was the strongest of those 4 realms that eventually got split up into the 4 realms. There were initially 5. They turned to 4. Out of those 4 realms, the king of the south was strong. Okay? And the first king of the south that was strong was Ptolemy I Soter. Ptolemy I Soter. Okay? And he reigned for 40 years. Ptolemy I reigned for 40 years from 325 until 285 BC. Is when he had his reign over his realm. 325 to 285. Now we read what we got in Josephus.
Right. Antiquity of the Jews, book 12, chapter 1, paragraph 1. And we're in line 3. Yeah. It says, and while these princes ambitiously strove one against another, everyone for his own principality.
Mm-hmm.
It says, it came to pass that there were continual wars, and those lasting wars too.
These are they were continual, long-lasting wars. Read on.
And the cities were suffering.
This is what I want to explain also. The city suffered, the economy suffered, many lives were destroyed because of this. Read on.
And lost a great many of their inhabitants in these times of distress.
Listen, a lot of our people died over these wars. Yes, the other nations died, and whether it's the Zidonians, the Phoenicians, but we're talking about our people. And in the midst of these wars for power and control over the king of the south and king of the north, a lot of our people had to die because of these circumstances. Read on.
And so much that Syria, by the means of Ptolemy, the son of Lagus, underwent the reverse of that denomination of Savior.
Listen, Ptolemy Soter. Soter means Savior in Greek. So what Josephus is saying is that people in the region of Syria, the region of Syria is this entire region right here. Now let me get a better a better image of Syria. That orange, the southern part of orange, the whole region is called Syria. From Antioch all the way down past Jerusalem. And they're saying the people of that region in Syria, matter of fact, I can show you this one. You see how Syria, it literally is from Antioch all the way down through Palestine. That whole red area is referred to as Syria. Our land was referred to as Coal Syria. But the whole region of Syria is the one that suffered during the time that Ptolemy I Savior was in power. Okay? So it says when Ptolemy I was in power, he did the opposite of save that region. That's what he's saying. He said, underwent, he says, by the means of Ptolemy, the son of Lagos, underwent the reverse of that denomination of Savior, which he then had.
So he didn't live up to his name.
Hell no. He brought the reverse, the verse uno called of Savior, which was the person that brought hell and destruction to the region. In order for him to gain power over the Syrian region, our people had to suffer. The inhabitants of the region had to suffer. This is the thief cometh not but to steal, kill, and destroy. That's his only motive. Okay? So under Ptolemy's reign, the first Ptolemy's reign, we suffered, but he had a large, strong, dynamic reign for 40 plus years. Okay? But I just want to bring out the fact that a lot of our people suffered during his pursuit for power. Okay? Read on.
Line 4. He also seized upon Jerusalem, and for that end made use of deceit and treachery. Mm-hmm. For as he came into the city on a Sabbath day, as if he would offer sacrifice, he, without any trouble, gained the city, while the Jews did not oppose him, for they did not suspect him to be their enemy. And he gained it thus, because they were free from suspicion of him, mm-hmm. and because on that day they were at rest and quietness. And when he had gained it, he reigned over it in a cruel manner.
So not only did he reign over Jerusalem and that region, he was cruel in how he reigned. He was cruel to our people. So once again, we're still dealing in this chapter 11 of Daniel's about the effects of these Edomite emperors, these Greek emperors, and how their reign and their control and their time in power affected us negatively or positively. Continue.
Line 5. Nay, Argothus, Argothracitus of Cnidus, who wrote the acts of Alexander's successors, reproaches us with superstition, as if we, by it, had lost our liberty, where he says thus, there is a nation called the nation of the Jews, who inhabit a city strong and great, named Jerusalem. These men took no care, but let it come into the hands of Ptolemy, as not willing to take arms, and thereby they submitted to be under a hard master, by reason of their unseasonable superstition.
And that's how Esau looks at our belief system.
Yeah.
It's superstitious. It doesn't make any sense. You're sitting back here and following a God you can't see. So all these things is how they looked at our fall to Ptolemy. But let's keep going.
This is what Argothracitus relates of our nation. But when Ptolemy had taken a great many captives, both from the mountainous parts of Judea,
from the mountainous
parts of Judea, and from the places about Jerusalem and Samaria, and the places near Mount
Gerizim. So the fake Jews, the fake Hebrews, and the real Hebrews got taken into slavery. Like, you want to be a fake Hebrew, you gonna suffer like the fake. You gonna suffer like the real Hebrews. Yeah. You gonna take the good and the bad then.
Not gonna love it.
Yeah.
No Samaritans.
And then this is why the Samaritans normally when this happens, they would say, "I'm not a Jew. They Jews, not me." That's how they would play it. But let's keep going. He wasn't buying it. Continue.
All right. he led them all into Egypt and settled them there. And as he knew that the people of Jerusalem were most faithful in the observation of oaths and covenants.
And because Ptolemy understood they were faithful, he said they're going to be faithful to me. They're going to be faithful to me in wars, faithful to me in being a police state or policing my country and my realm. I can use these kind of guys. Read on.
And this formed the answer they made to Alexander when he sent an ambassador to them after he had beaten Darius in battle. So he distributed many of them into garrisons.
What he's saying is, remembering that experience he had with Alexander reminded him that these people were the ones you can use to kind of establish your country off of and get loyal subjects. So he put them in garrisons and military positions and military responsibilities. Read on.
And at Alexandria gave them equal privileges of citizens with the Macedonians themselves, and required of them to take their oaths that they will keep their fidelity to the posterity of those who committed these places to their care.
You see how the use of the title of a citizen was used as leverage to get loyalty and to buy loyalty from people. Yep. So you can sit back and put them in your military, and they can serve you the way you need them to serve you for the upliftment of your nation. Ptolemy pulled this card. So did Seleucus I pull this card. They were using us as pawns to elevate their kingdom at our expense. Read on.
Line 9. Nay, there were not a few other Jews who, of their own accord, went into Egypt, as invited by the goodness of the soil and by the liberality of Ptolemy. However, there were disorders among their posterity with relation to the Samaritans, on account of their resolution to preserve that conduct of life which was delivered to them by their forefathers, and they thereupon contended one with another.
So they're saying that there was beef between the real Jews and the imposter Jews, and it was hard to work that out because we were all in the same cities and region in Alexandria. Read on.
While those of Jerusalem said that their temple was holy and resolved to send their sacrifices thither, but the Samaritans were resolved that they should be sent to Mount Gerizim.
Okay, I'm not going into all of chapter 2 because we went ad nauseum going into chapter 2 with the whole how the Septuagint got set up. So we're not going to go there. I just want to quickly go into that first chapter that dealt with Ptolemy I and how he made us citizens, just like Seleucus Nicator, which is the first king and the king of the north, made us citizens also, and we were being used in a position of being military weapons and instruments to help them fight wars.
And just a point to show the population of Greece at that time. It's the Life of the Greeks 592. It says the population of Alexandria around 200 BC was varied as in a modern metropolis, for from 400,000 to 500,000 Macedonians, Greeks, Egyptians, Jews, Persians, Anatolians, Syrians, Arabs, and Negroes all lived in those areas. So it was a metropolitan of a mixed culture. So the benefits, you have all these people wanting citizenship. Well, you have to pay for that citizenship. You have to pay by way of, if there's a war, if there's a battle, you have to go quell or quench the battle.
Yep. And it was a lot of wars. It was non-stop war. You was getting drafted. Your son was getting drafted. You're going to sit back and look at the time periods. It wasn't like many generations were going to be able to escape war.
No.
After this generation was gone, the next generation gets raised up, it's time to go to war. Next generation, time to go to war. Every one of your generation and your family line is going to war.
Yep.
That's really how it is. So, let all that go, and let's continue in Daniel chapter 11.
That's the cost of being conquered.
Yeah.
The cost of being conquered is I'm a bullet sponge.
Mm-hmm.
Fodder.
You're dodging bullets like a mug.
Or I'm sitting here building up a society as they get the benefits. They get the lion's share of the benefits.
Done. So, Let's go into the next. Let's go to verse 5 from the top again.
Verse 5. Okay, let's go.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 5.
Mm-hmm.
And the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes.
So listen, the king of the south is Ptolemy the first, Soter.
Mm-hmm.
He shall be strong. He reigned for 40 years, from 325 to 285, right? Then it said, and one of his princes, read on.
Says, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion.
So this one is talking about Ptolemy II, Philadelphus. Okay. Ptolemy II, Philadelphus, was strong above his father, Ptolemy I. He was his prince, his son. Read on.
It says, his dominion shall be a great dominion.
Ptolemy II had a greater dominion than Ptolemy I. Okay? Ptolemy Philadelphus was Ptolemy II, and he reigned from 285 BC until 246 BC. 285 BC to 246 BC, so he had an approximately 40-year run also.
So my question is this. Normally when guys get 40s and get long time periods to run, it's because the Most High, for some reason, is dealing with them.
The Most High allowed him to run his course and have his power on earth. Ptolemy I was cruel, and the Most High gave him his time.
Okay.
Ptolemy Philadelphus, we read about Ptolemy Philadelphus all these last 4 or 5 weeks. Because Ptolemy Philadelphus was the one who authorized the translation of the Bible from the Hebrew to the Greek. And I'm not going there, because we already went there already. But really that entire chapter 2 in the Josephus goes into all the specifics of what Ptolemy Philadelphus did just on the translation level. But he was also a powerful general in just in the military, because what Daniel's 11 verse 5 doesn't explain is that during Ptolemy II Philadelphus' reign were the first 2 Syrian wars. Okay, the first 2 Syrian wars were fought during Ptolemy II's time period. The first Syrian war was fought between Ptolemy II and Antiochus I. Antiochus I was Seleucus Nicator's son. Okay, and that war was like 3 years, from 274 to 271 BC. I'm going to be real quick with this. The dispute and the fighting was over southern Syria. Okay. Ptolemy II won Phoenicia. We know where Phoenicia is. Phoenicia is on the coastline where old Tyre and Zidon used to be. So Ptolemy II won the first Syrian war, got Phoenicia, and he got Anatolia, and this is Anatolia. Anatolia is the entire realm of Turkey. Okay? Now I can show you a better one. That realm is still Turkey. Anatolia, or Asia Minor. Okay. So Ptolemy I, or Anatolia, was awarded to Ptolemy II after the first Syrian war. Okay? So whether it's that image or this image, this entire realm was awarded by Ptolemy II. So this guy was winning. He was winning wars. He was winning battles. Everything was okay.
So those small little countries, we think they're small countries.
That's not a small country. Turkey is major.
Well, I'm saying Turkey, but I'm saying that they have a lot of history behind it. Look at it from a modern position. Because a person like myself, okay, looking at Turkey, okay, what's going on in Turkey? What's really happening over there? Listen, when I talk about Turkish food, I think about those little
the Mbappe's out.
I like the Mbappe's out.
Listen.
But you're seeing a lot of history behind the scenes.
Well, it's not even history. It's just position and power. So what we got? Ptolemy I, he got Anatolia, and he was awarded the Cyclade Islands. Those Cyclade Islands It's strategic. It's right next to Turkey. You have access to these ports. You can control your ports. You can control your trading and your buying.
You said this was Ptolemy 1 or Ptolemy 2?
This is Ptolemy 2.
Okay.
Ptolemy 2 in the First Syrian War won these 3 locations. It was the Cyclades, it was Turkey, and it was the Phoenician area.
These are all power moves.
It is all power moves, and it is greater turf expansion for Ptolemy. Anyway, those are the 3 parts of the land that he won in the First Syrian War. Then the Second Syrian War happened in 260 BC to 253 BC.
Yeah.
So that once again, that's 10 years later. There's another 7-year war. There was a 3-year war. Now there's a 7-year war 10 years later. And it's just constant war left and right. It's constant war. 10-year break and you're back at it again. 10-year break, you're back at it again. So this one was about the same area they were fighting over because the Syrians didn't like the fact that they took that L. Now the fighting is starting again. And Ptolemy II was fighting against Antiochus Theos II.
That's in the Second Syrian War.
That's the Second Syrian War. So the son of Antiochus I is fighting. And this one, the truth is, Antiochus, in this next battle, Cassander gets in and assists with the Seleucids, and they end up getting this area back. So, Second Syrian War, the Cyclades was preserved, but they lost. Ptolemy II lost Phoenicia and Anatolia. He lost Phoenicia and Turkey again. Okay, so all this death, 10 years of war, from 10 in 2 separate wars, 10 years of war approximately, and it was a stalemate.
And you said that war was between Ptolemy II and
Antiochus II Theos, which was the son of Antiochus I. So it's the third in the line of the Seleucid Empire.
Okay, so Antiochus II
Theos.
Which is the son of Antiochus
the first. Yep. In a little bit. Okay. You can leave now. You want to take over. Yeah. So this is what ends up happening.
So Antiochus the First was the second ruler of the Seleucid Empire. Because of
Decatur.
Decatur was number 1.
The first.
Yeah.
Then it was Antiochus the First. Then it was Antiochus II Theos. That was the line of succession.
The third ruler of
the Seleucid line, the king of the north.
Right, exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
So these 2 wars aren't talked about in verse 5, but it's important that I kind of lightly gloss over it because verse 6 makes more sense when I go into that. Okay? So, First Syrian War, Ptolemy won. He got Phoenicia, Anatolia, and the Cyclade Islands. Syrian War Part 2, the second one, he lost Anatolia and Phoenicia, maintained the Cyclades. So pretty much it's a wash, these first 2 wars.
Yeah.
But a lot of death and a lot of killing had to happen to get to that point. So, with that being the case,
what was the year of that First Syrian War?
The First Syrian War was from 274 BC to 271. The Second Syrian War was from 260 BC to 253 BC.
And so we're talking about Alexander died around 321. So we're talking about within 60 years. No, that's 25 plus 25. So about 50 years. It's already they're straight. His friends,
straight war.
His friends and the descendants of his friends are going neck and neck.
It was 20 years of war right after he died.
Right after he died.
Then it was a quick recess.
Yeah.
And then it was 10 more years. So it was 30 years of war.
You got to get your money up. You're going to go to war. Like Pac said.
This is 30 years of war. 30 years of war from 320 to 253.
Yeah. Okay. So that's immediate bloodshed. That's an exhaustion of resources. A depletion of manpower.
Yep.
And now you got to regroup and recalibrate and get your riches together. Now the victor go to spoils.
But the crazy is nobody's really winning anything.
Yeah.
What you're going to see is a small region was won for a few years, then they lost it again.
Then they lost it.
This is what was happening in World War One.
Yep.
When they was all these millions of people were dying, and they were just fighting over
Inches.
It's literally was inches that was covered and was traded off between the French and the Axis. I'm like, this is crazy. But all this death for nothing. Anyway, that's what's happening so far. So just to get the idea of what's happening, it's 10 years of war within a 20-year span. And it doesn't seem to be any type of
Leverage.
any closure, any end in sight.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that being the case, now let's go into verse 6. Now let's get you saluted in.
Yes.
And once again, y'all, I know this class is a bookworm class, but we got to get through these, man. Then we'll get to some other stuff.
Shabbatah, Balashar, Banyashala.
Salam Makab, Shah Shabbatah, Banashar, Bayashala. Imagine. What? Y'all Bayashala.
Yahweh Hashem Yabshabbatah.
All right. Okay, let's get into verse 6 now. Daniel's 11 and verse 6.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 6. And in the end of the years, they shall join themselves together.
So what it's saying is, at the end of these years of warring, they're like, we need to sit back here and find a way to create peace amongst the Ptolemies and the Seleucids. Because this is getting bad. You already had 20 years of fighting just to get the four realms set up. Now, as soon as the four realms are set up, nobody's happy over the Syrian region and how the Syrian region has been divvied up. So Ptolemy II is still living, and also Antiochus is still living. Also, Antiochus II, Theos, is still living. So they're like, we got to find a way to bring some peace. So what is projected to create peace is that Ptolemy gives his daughter up, Berenice, to Antiochus II, Theos, in hopes that if there is a marriage between these two regions and realms, there'd be peace and there'd be no war. We can kind of slow this stuff down and pause all this stuff. Okay? Because nothing's getting accomplished through this. So, read verse 6.
Verse 6. And in the end of years, they shall join themselves together. And the king's daughter of the south...
For the king's daughter.
Sorry, Salah. For the king's daughter of the south shall come the king of the north...
Read it again.
For the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement.
Stop. So the agreement that was established was that Ptolemy II, Philadelphia's daughter, Berenice, Berenice Sira, is married to Antiochus II, Theos. Okay? And that the deal was done. He had, what's his name? Antiochus II ended up taking her and marrying her, and they had a son. The problem was Antiochus II, Theos, already had 2 kids with a wife.
Yeah.
So what he did, Antiochus II got rid of his first rib and kids and took Berenice and married her and dealt with her. So now what's that creating?
Division.
That's division, because now you got 3 different heirs that's hanging out here in the wind, and all of them have some type of legitimate claim to the throne. Okay? So the first wife that he had, her name was Laodice. And she had 2 sons, Seleucus II Callinicus and Antiochus Herax. But what he had to do, Antiochus II had to get rid of her and them kids for peace in the realm. So he ended up marrying Ptolemy's daughter, Berenice, and they had a child. So, read verse 6 from the top. I had to bring that information in because it brings clarity to what's going on next. Read on.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 6. And in the end of years, they shall join themselves together. For the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement.
So the agreement was through marriage. Peace was made through marriage. Read on.
But she shall not retain the power of the arm.
So what it's saying is the new wife, Berenice Sira, was not going to maintain the power of being the head mistress of the house. The head mistress is the one that makes the decisions for the household while the husband runs his kingdom. So Berenice wasn't going to maintain her position. Read on.
Neither shall he stand.
So it says, no, let me stop before we go there. But she shall not retain the power of the arm. What ended up happening, it was different rumors of what happened. But in around 246 BC, a lot of things happened in 246 BC. Antiochus II, Theos, dies by poisoning. Okay? So Antiochus II, Theos, dies of poisoning. Poisoning. I was going to say that.
Matthew Henry says that Laodicea, the wife that was put away, poisoned him.
That's what it said. It's rumored, and that's where I was going next. It was rumored that Laodicea poisoned him. So that, and then what she said is this: he died. Whoever poisoned him, whatever happened, he died of poisoning. What she announced afterwards, she said, "Listen, my husband told me that my 2 sons were heir to the throne.
Yeah,
he told me that
before he died.
Yeah. This is some Game of Thrones stuff.
Yeah,
that's what happened in Game of Thrones. So pretty much, he's heir to the throne. So this woman, Berenice, and her kid don't have any claim to the throne. So now all this palace intrigue is going down in their kingdom. And make sure I got this right. That's correct. So yeah, all that's right. But also in that same year, Ptolemy II dies. Ptolemy II dies. Antiochus II, Theos, dies. Laodicea is pushing heavy for claims that her son Seleucus should be the king. While all this is happening, Berenice writes a letter to her brother, who is a new king. His name is Eucrates. Okay, Eucrates is the 3rd Ptolemy. So her brother is the king, is Eucrates. Berenice is writing her brother, and said, "Hey man, I need you to bring some military up here to protect me, because this chick Laodicea is trying to kill me. So I need you to help me retain my position, because I don't know what this chick Laodicea is going to do." So what ends up happening is Eucrates, Ptolemy III, goes up to where Bernice is. But by the time he gets there,
and just because his name is Ptolemy III, he's not the king of the south. He's the king of the north.
No. Ptolemy III is the king of the south.
Yeah, so okay, so Eucrates is still
Eucrates is Philadelphia's son.
Son.
Yes.
Okay, one of the 2 sons from Laodicea.
No.
Yeah.
Listen, I know this is confusing as hell. I know this is confusing. We're gonna rewind it real quick. Okay. Ptolemy, once again, you had Ptolemy Soter, Ptolemy Philadelphus, Ptolemy Eucrates. Ptolemy Philadelphus had a son and a daughter. Okay. Bernice and Eucrates the boy. He sends Bernice up to the north
to marry
Antiochus II Theos in hopes that there's peace. Antiochus II had to dump his woman to bring Bernice in.
To unite the 2
empires. Laodicea wasn't feeling that. Ended up poisoning Antiochus the damn second, then claiming that her sons had heir to the throne. So now Bernice is up there with no protection, saying, "Hey, Eucrates in the south, I need you to sit back here and send some help and back me, because I'm out here in the wind with no help but the little small crew of little soldiers that you sent with me."
Because Bernice is on the island now.
She's on the island. She's on Death Island.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're out to get her, and she don't know what to do next. So what Eucrates does, the 3rd Ptolemy, he ends up sending his people up to protect Bernice, but by the time they get to Bernice, she's dead. So now all hell is about to break loose. But at the same time, Ptolemy Philadelphus, her dad and his father just died. So there's a lot of chaos going on. So with that being the case,
yeah, perfect timing.
let's read verse 6 again. So
Yeah.
I'm explaining this so the verse makes more sense. Read on.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 6. And in the end of years they shall join themselves together. For the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement.
So now we understand that marriage was Ptolemy II's daughter with Antiochus II Theos to bring this thing together. Read on.
But she shall not retain the power of the arm.
She was not going to be the wife to this man, Antiochus II Theos, for long. Read on.
Neither shall he stand.
So they says he wasn't going to stand long either because he was poisoned. He was poisoned. He didn't stand long. She didn't stand long in her position. Read on.
Nor his arm.
Mm-hmm.
But she shall be given up. And they that
It says, okay, it says, but she shall not retain the power of the arm, the position, neither shall he stand, that king of the north, nor his arm, nor the support that was with Bernice. Read on.
But she shall be given up.
She shall be given up. She was going to be killed. Read on.
And they that brought her.
He says, and they that brought her, the people that she had escorted her up to the king in the north realm, they died. Read on.
And he that begat her.
Who begat Berenice? Ptolemy II died. He didn't make it. Berenice didn't make it. The entourage that took her up to the king in the north didn't make it. Read on.
And he that strengthened her in these times.
So he says, but she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that begat her, which is the father, and he that strengthened her in these times. That's still the father. None of these people made it out alive. The husband, the wife, the father, none of them made it. Read on.
But out of a branch of her roots shall one stand up in his estate.
So listen, out of a branch of her roots is talking about her brother Eucrates, the king of the south. He rose up. Read on.
Which shall come with an army. And shall
Well,
enter.
real quick, before we jump to verse 7. And deal with that branch of roots. Are we clear on verse 6? Because that's a lot of information that happened. Okay? So, when Berenice got killed up in the king in the north territory, then Laodice, the mother of her two sons, they crowned Seleucus II Callinicus as the king in 246. Her son was crowned king, who was the son of the wife that got kicked to the curb before he chose Berenice. Are we good on that?
And I just want to bring something out because you look at the attitude behind that second wife that got kicked to the curb temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
That came back and poisoned
The King Theos.
King Theos. This is Philo page 435. It says, "But envy is at all times an adversary to great good fortune."
Mm-hmm.
So would that have helped the Jews, us,
Yeah.
having been sitting in the middle of going to war, having to pick a side of the Seleucid side or the Ptolemaic side?
Yep.
We were caught in the middle. It said that would have been a good fortune for us if they would have united the
It
kingdom.
would have brought stability in the realm.
It would have brought stability. He says, but envy is at all times an adversary to great good fortune, and at this time it attacked a house which was prospering in all its parts, and divided it, setting all the brothers in enmity against one, who displayed an ill feeling of their own parts, sufficient to the counterbalance the affection of his father. Talking about Joseph, right? This is the same thing that happened to Joseph when Joseph's brothers was envious of Joseph.
Okay.
It says the affection of the father. It says hating their brother, and when you look at the Seleucids and you look at the Ptolemies, they're what? They're all Greeks. They're still brothers too. It says, but as much, it says, hating their brothers as much as their father loved them, but they did not divulge their hatred by words. It says, but kept in their own bosoms, on which account it very naturally became more grievous and bitter. For passions which are repressed, and which are not allowed to evaporate in language, are more difficult to bear. What he's saying is that envy, although you may say, I want peace, but a person will hold envy in their bosom. And when you hold envy in your bosom, although you may say, hey, let's make peace, he says that's harder to bear because it's deep-seated at this point. So he's showing you how you can't repress envy. It's going to come out some way, shape, or form. So that woman's envy of her being put to the side, it just pretty much destroyed any hopes of unity between the Seleucid and Ptolemaic dynasty.
Time. And once again, I get this information. It's dense, and I don't even want to go through a whole lot of chapters today because of how dense it is. Because this could be overload. So I don't want to go through a bunch of these type of dense verses because there's a lot to kind of consume and process. So just let's read verse 6 again.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 6. And in the end of years they shall join themselves together. For the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement.
So they tried to set this deal up. Berenice in the south to marry Antiochus II Theos. Have that marriage, have that work out. Okay, but once again, Antiochus II had to get rid of his wife and kids for this to work. Read on.
But she shall not retain the power of the arm.
Berenice, the king of the south's daughter, didn't maintain her position as the queen. Read on.
Neither shall he stand.
Neither shall the king stand in power for longer. The king of the north wasn't going to stand for long. Read on.
Nor his arm.
Nor his arm. Read on.
But she shall be given up.
Nor his arm is talking about what? His son.
Oh, wow.
That son had to die too.
Wow.
That the heir of the throne had to get killed. So that his son wasn't going to last. Neither was Antiochus II Theos.
I had a question. Who killed the son?
The military.
The military did.
The military did under the orders of the mother.
Okay.
That got
Put away.
kicked to the curb.
Wow.
Okay,
That's wow.
This is white drama right here.
Yeah.
That should be on TV.
Yeah, this is white drama right here. And this is the Bible talking about white drama. This is not. We're not just going on. I want to make sure we're clear. We're not just going over this just for the hell of going over this. This is still history that pertains to us.
And prophecy.
And prophecy to let us know that this is how in the hell was Daniel going to be dropping this level of detail when the Persian and Median Empire was still in power?
Yeah.
That just got in power. That don't even make sense.
It's before Alexander he was even born.
Kana. The Greeks were an afterthought of even a nation.
Yeah.
They weren't taken seriously at all.
They really weren't taken seriously. They weren't even thought about.
But you said
They were used for trade.
God, that's it. That was all they were known for.
and they were warring tribes,
Yes.
kind of like gangs of New York.
Yeah, hell yeah. But we weren't. Listen, it just proves the validity of the Bible, how clear this information is, and how it ties into real life history and how it went down. Okay.
It shows you how in control the Most High is of all wars, scuffles, battles, skirmishes, animosity between nations and cultures.
Mm-hmm.
The Most High is pulling all the strings.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. So continue.
But she shall be given up. And they
Meaning
that
she
brought
was
her-
going to get killed. They that brought her, which is the people that was responsible for her, they're going to get killed. Read on.
And he that begat her.
And he that begat her was the dad. He dies at that time, that year also. Read on.
And he that strengthened her in these times.
Listen, that's the baby. Because that baby was the collateral to protect her. That baby got killed too.
Wow.
The son, the heir got killed. The mother got killed. The father died. All of her protection was wiped out in one shot. Okay? And at the same time, Laodicea's son, Seleucus II, was crowned the king in 246, and he reigned from 246 to 225 BC. So, let's read verse 7. This is the beginning. Verse 7 goes into the start of the Third Syrian War, which is referred to as the Laodicean War. Laodicean because it's Laodicea's fault.
The poisoner.
Yep, the poisoner, right? Exactly.
Was-
The happy homebreaker.
Wasn't this like a common theme in history as far as dealing with
This is Greeks. The Greeks, yeah, the Edomites always would sit back here and poison your drinks and poison your food, and it's all that kind of that treachery that roll with their empire.
Because we
Not
always
letting the Most High just work things out and handle things where they're supposed to be handled.
because we go into it's commonly known in Roman history that it was a lot of stabbings and assassinations by stabbing. The Caesars and stuff like that they were stabbed to death.
Yeah.
But in this situation, it was just real kind of mafia-like, very subtle.
Mm-hmm. And it's all treacherous. It's all negative. It's all for power. So now we're about to start the Third Syrian War, which is the Laodicean War. Because now, once Eucrates III finds out that his sister is killed, now he's like, it's on. We going to war. Now I'm killing all y'all dudes because he sat back here and killed my sister and my nephew. So, let's read verse 7.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 7. But out of a branch of her roots shall one stand up in his state.
So out of her lineage, which is King Eucrates III, read on.
Which shall come with an army, and shall enter into the fortress of the king of the north.
So now they're going to enter into the fortress of the king of the north, which was Seleucus II Callinicus. Now he's like, listen, I'm going to sit back here and go to your territory and your stronghold and create war in your stronghold. Okay? Read on.
And shall deal against them.
Now, once again, this war was a 5-year war from 246 to 241. Okay? And one thing about this war, his forces, when they sat back here and they entered into his location, his head general at the time, his name was Xanathippus, and he was a Lacedaemonian.
Which means what?
An Israelite.
Okay. That's what I was asking.
Lacedaemonians were Israel. They were our people that was in Greece. So they had a hired hand, and he was used to sit back. He was a mercenary general, and he was responsible for leading Ptolemy Eucrates' forces in this realm. Because if I'm not mistaken, Seleucus II Callinicus, his realm was in Anatolia, was in Turkey. Okay, so let's continue.
And shall deal against them, and shall prevail.
And the king of the south won this battle again. Okay, read on.
And shall also carry captives into Egypt their gods, with their princes, and their precious vessels of silver and of gold. And he shall continue more years than the king of the north.
And what he's saying is, he reigned a longer period of time. Ptolemy III Eucrates lasted longer in power than Seleucus II Callinicus. Seleucus II Callinicus reigned until 227 BC. Okay? Ptolemy III Eucrates reigned from 246 to 221. So he was in power longer than Callinicus, and he sat back here and scored a major blow.
You said what was Callinicus' reign?
Callinicus' reign ran from 246 to 240. I'm sorry, from 246 to 227. And Ptolemy III Eucrates reigned from 246 to 221.
So they both came in power together at the same time.
Same year. Mm-hmm.
But one went 6 years longer
exactly.
than the other.
So once again, these are just prophecies showing that all this story fits in true. And that they says once Ptolemy III came in and they got a lot of gold, got a lot of resources. They had a lot of financial benefit from this war.
And this is why you can't say that the Bible was written by Shakespeare.
No, not at all, bro.
Listen, this dude was not sitting there writing all these plays and then writing all this information history like he was a man.
Exactly.
It's impossible. It makes the people that say the Bible was plagiarized look stupid.
It doesn't make sense.
Because people say, well, the Bible was stolen from the Egyptian scrolls or the Egyptian.
Well, they don't prophesy these battles.
Egyptians didn't do that.
No, they don't.
Name one Egyptian prophecy. Other than Moses is coming.
God.
That's it.
So what ended up happening is the Ptolemies started gaining control of Antioch. Part of their win is they got Antioch, which is a major stronghold for the king of the north. It was Antioch and Anatolia.
That's who the Ptolemies got. What?
Yes. The Ptolemies got victories in Syria, Anatolia, which is Turkey again. So they got that region in Turkey again. They got that region in Syria, which is Antioch.
Yeah.
They regain these spots. Now they end up losing. They end up losing that coastal city called the Cyclades.
Who they losing to?
They lost those islands because they're fighting on ground and in naval battles.
How many people they got? Yeah, but it's a lot of.
There's a lot of bodies and a lot of it's a lot of territory to cover.
So I'm saying,
look at the territory you got to cover, man, to maintain your empire. You see that blue? The blue is up north too, because they had that portion up
That's
north.
Crazy, bro.
They had that portion and this portion, and they're fighting over all these seas. They had Cyprus. They had these islands. They had this northern coast. They had all this to cover, and the solution had all that to cover.
Come on, bro.
So
They're like Libya right there too, like North Africa.
Carthage. That's Carthage. That Carthage area was where the Phoenicians extended their empire, because once they lost their stronghold in Phoenicia, their next hub, Carthage, was keeping Phoenicia afloat.
And then the Romans came in and set
took
up
out Carthage.
Took
And that ties in that prophecy in Ezekiel 28 about the guy that was wiser than Daniel, how they had to fall. But there was the Carthaginian Empire, who was an extension of the Phoenician Empire. Point is that, like you said, there's wars on the ground, there's wars on land, there's wars in the seas, and all these things are happening
Simultaneously.
Is
this I'm not trying to sound stupid. Is this similar to the spirit of a world war?
Well, I can't say world wars. I
mean,
can't
it's just different. Is it different? There's different nations.
There's so many of them. It's so many people.
And
there's so many wars.
And it said that Hannibal had offered himself to fight in one of the wars, but
heard that too.
They turned him down, and they ended up getting wiped out. But Hannibal could have been a major factor and asset to one of those sides.
Yeah. Like I said,
this is amazing information, bro.
It's a lot of information. I know it's dense. I know it's headache knowledge, and you got to sit down and read it and study it and write it down. If not, it ain't gonna stick.
And you gotta get your coffee on, or it's over.
You have to get your coffee on. That's where you want to go.
You
Get
better go
coffee.
to Valero. You want to remember this?
Or you better get some Folgers. You better do something.
No, but I appreciate the fact that the study is done and the research is done, because now I'm starting to get a clearer picture when I'm reading of how these empires come to pass. Because by the time you read, you look up, okay, it's the Persians, man. They're just there. The Persians just hang out. I don't know how they got there. They just showed up. There's the Babylonians, they just showed up. There's the Greeks, they just showed up. There's the Romans, they just showed up. Well, how did they show up? It was a succession of wars.
And the wars kept weakening them.
Yep.
They can sit back here, because what you're going to start seeing a pattern of, the king of the north and the king of the south keep fighting. They look up, the Romans just took them all out.
See, that makes sense. So now, because listen, I always had the question of, you have the Greeks and Romans, right? And we always say the Greco-Roman Empire. But you're like, how did the Greeks have an issue with the Romans? How did the Romans just conquer everything? The Greeks were at one time of power.
The Romans went west, they went north, and then west, and south, and then east. While they're fighting for all this, they locked down all of their competition north and west. They took out the Gauls, our people in Spain, our people in France, worked their way down, got to Carthage, broke them in Carthage, and worked their way down to Egypt.
The Romans went up to Britain.
That's what I'm saying. They went north. They went north and west. They went to the Gauls. They dealt with a portion of Britain, and they stopped. And they said, "This is the end of the world." It wasn't, but they said it was the end of the world. I think it was Hadrian's Wall. Then they worked their way down, got to North Africa, worked their way to Egypt, broke down the Ptolemaic Empire because they were weak at the time.
Wow!
And then they started working their way east.
And the Romans were very hungry. They were usually used as just mercenary fighters for the Greeks because the Greeks grew lazy in their power.
Yep.
That makes sense. That's the same thing with the Egyptians. When the Egyptians grew effeminate, they collapsed.
Yep.
Israel, and then the same thing with the Greeks. What's my other question? I'm not trying to interrupt the class.
No, you're good.
But you have basically two factions are at war. The Greek faction, the Roman faction.
No.
Let me clarify my statement. They're in competition.
Not yet. Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Okay,
This
they're
is
not
still
in
early.
competition.
We're still in the 200s. The Romans don't start until like the late 200s.
Okay.
It's not even about them. This is about the Greeks at the height of their power, fighting for control. The Rome of the South is always fighting to push up on the North, and the Rome of the North is pushing down the South.
Is it similar? This is the last time I'm going to say this. Is it similar to how conservatives and liberals are at war for the spirit of the country?
I wouldn't even say I wouldn't say that. I would say, like the scripture says, the king in the north is the Seleucid Empire in the past. King in the south is the Ptolemaic Empire. The king of the south now is America, and the king of the north is Russia.
But the same.
That's
people.
literally it's the same nation of people fighting against each other, fighting for power and dominance on earth. When you sit back here and look at the whole Cold War, that is from the 1940s on. That's another example of what we're reading about now.
Yeah.
So there's nothing new. under the sun.
Everywhere from the 40s, from the 45 on, when you remember when you read about the 7-Day War with the Israelis and the Egyptians, what they didn't tell you was that Russians were putting on Egyptian uniforms and fighting in planes for the Egyptian army against the Israelis. And Americans were putting on Israeli planes and in uniforms and fighting against Russians.
Well,
this is what's been going on. This has been proxy wars.
But that's very much so like in Ukraine, where you have USA people being Ukrainian
mercenaries putting on Ukrainian clothes. You got Colombians putting on Ukrainian clothes. Those Colombians too.
Yeah, they
mercenaries.
Yeah, they tricked the Cubans to come over there and fight. They said,
that's messed up.
We got a job interview for you, and then letters came home back to Cuba saying they tricked us. These weren't jobs. We're fighting for the Ukrainians.
It's a job. It's an air quote job. You know, it is an air quote job. We got a job for you. It's a deadly job. This is a hell of a job.
That's a hell of an internship.
But
that spirit, the theme, the dynamic of the theme of proxy wars and two sides and
just two Edomite factions fighting for global control, and the hell with anybody else on earth and what they're going through. That is the reoccurring thing.
And then the scripture says, "A house divided against itself shall not
and eventually
stand."
It didn't stand because of those things. Now the two groups that were stuck up in Greece just stayed in their lane, but everybody else was fighting over territory, and it ruined them. Wow. Now for the first X amount of generations, I'm not going to sit back here and be on this all day because once we get to Antiochus, we're going to shift to Antiochus Epiphanes. But we got to get through at least 4 Ptolemies. We can get to 4 Ptolemies, and after that 4th Ptolemy is when Antiochus III kicks in, and that's when everything shifts to the Seleucid line at that point. But they start getting power on earth.
But it gives you an understanding of why. Because I always grew up like, man, listen, man, I grew up looking in the sky, bro, and I see a C-5A green bomber flying over my head. I'm playing basketball. I'm in like 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, Bush is in office out, and we're hooping, and we just keep hearing planes keep going over, and all of a sudden everybody's in Iraq, right? Then years later, like now, I had this Russian conflict. All of a sudden, look up, and those same bombers are back in the sky. I'm a grown man now, and those same bombers are flying nonstop. We have the F-15s and 16s flying nonstop. What I'm trying to say is, Esau is always at war. Is why. I always ask myself, because when you believe the news, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, they're trying to give freedom to the people over here. And
freedom,
man, over here, they try to help them. Why is America spending so much money trying to help these small countries?
Because when you're not top of the line in industry, and nobody wants your TVs anymore, nobody's buying your cars. The Japanese corner the market in electronics and vehicles. So what else does America make that the world could use?
That's
Bombs, weapons,
That makes
missiles,
sense. That makes
ammunition.
sense.
So we have to keep the wars going and sell. We have to sell the wars to supply the weapons
That makes sense.
to keep the economy going.
Because I've never seen, I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen people say made in the USA and be proud of it. Back in the day, I heard made in the USA when it came to tools, Skillcraft, Sears. You know, Sears.
Yeah, I'm watching. Yeah. Sears Roebuck. Yeah.
Sears Roebuck. And remember, we would work in the zone, and then sometimes we walk in the mall, and we go in the back, and there'd be lines and lines and lines and lines of people. And you see them all buying Skillcraft. And then you look up, Sears is out of business. This American company's out of business. These long companies are out of business. And you don't see anybody buying American made anymore. But now we know why we're having to go to war. Like you said.
The technology is not prominent out of America. You know, our products aren't wanted, and we can't make and we couldn't sell them because the quality's not the same and the price is too high.
Exactly.
So industry is bad over here.
And then from that point, you have this where it comes to tech, global tech. Now all the different the microchips. We go on to talk about the Asian conflict. Why is America dealing with Taiwan?
Yeah.
That's China's territory.
Yeah.
We're talking about Trump going to being upset about what's going on in that Panama Canal and getting China out the Panama Canal.
Yeah.
But simultaneously, America's right there in China dealing with Taiwan, making little deals. And Nancy Pelosi's got her son on the board.
Yeah, in Taiwan.
Yeah, so we can be in Taiwan and entertain that notion, but China can't be in the Panama Canal getting their benefits on.
Yeah.
It's all about money and power. It's the same game.
it's
That's why people have wars. It's not because
always about money and power.
Because this whole
and
Vietnam
ports and trade and all that stuff.
Because I was watching this morning on a little YouTube thing, right? And they said that Martin Luther King died a very depressed man. His wife was saying this. She said he died in deep depression because he made a speech about Vietnam. He felt guilt that they were going over there and dropping napalm on children. So
why did he feel guilty about that?
Well, this is what she said. She said he ended up making a speech about Vietnam, and he lost all the financial support of other blacks, and he lost popularity. And then in his last days, before he died a lonely, depressed man because he lost popularity because of his position on Vietnam, that America shouldn't be fighting in Vietnam. Okay. What's my point? People use these emotional themes to say this is why we're going to war, but it's all about, like you said, like you're bringing out right now, war has always been about territory, resources, power, families, and that's why there's nonstop. But as long as I've been alive, we've been in some kind of conflict. You would think there'd be some peace for like 10, 20 years, but it's not. It's Afghanistan. We're going to Afghanistan. Yeah. There's poppy seeds over here.
It's always something.
I'm just saying. I'm getting this class to help me understand why there's always a war dynamic.
Because there's always war. There's always jockeying and positioning for control on Earth. Yeah. So what do we have now? Let's go back real quick to verse 7 again. And work our way down so that we're back clear on this. Okay?
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 7. But out of a branch of her roots shall one stand up in his estate.
So Berenice, who died, her brother, Ptolemy III Eutyches, comes back in power and declares war against the king of the north, which is Seleucid II Callinicus and his mother, Laodice. The wars were called the Laodicean Wars. Continue.
Which shall come with an army, and shall enter into the fortress of the king of the north, and shall deal against them, and shall prevail.
So when they went into the fortress of the king of the north, one of the fortresses of the king of the north was in Antioch. It said, and in exchange for peace in 241 BC, Ptolemy was awarded new territories on the northern coast of Syria, including Seleucia Pera, the port of Antioch. So when you sit back and see this image online where Antioch is, you see Seleucia right at the tip, that had to have been a strategic area to where they can do business and make money. So that was the major piece that was that made the fight worth it for Ptolemy III. And it got him more powerful and more rich than he was before he went into the battle. Now, he lost these islands, but he gained a major port. Once again, that's war. You're going to gain things, you're going to lose things. This is what the situation is.
Yep.
So this was when it says...
that's the Sea of Japan right now.
Khan. This is how he prevailed.
Or the South China Sea.
Khan.
And it's all fighting over these territories. The whole world's fighting over ports, port cities, natural resources, then and now.
And you went into the beginning class, and you were joking, but it's the same point that people talk about how, quote unquote, when blacks be having these turf battles, you know, over a block. That's just the spirit of man fighting. It's just a lower level, a very primitive lower level of warfare. It's the same.
But that's what war is about across the board.
This is vanity and vexation of spirit.
So let's get to verse 8.
Verse 8. And shall also carry captives into Egypt their gods, with their princes, and their precious vessels of silver and of gold. And he shall continue more years than the king of the north.
So he was in power for a longer stretch than the king in the north was. So he's saying Ptolemy III lasted longer than Seleucus II. Read on.
So the king of the south shall come into his kingdom, and shall return into his own land.
So the king of the south was on top again. Ptolemy the first, Ptolemy the second, Ptolemy the third. They maintained a stranglehold over the region through 3 Syrian wars. And after that 3rd Syrian war, they were still in power. Okay? So
this is amazing information, bro.
It's a lot of information. And like I said, it's not super fun reading. But it's
back in high school, like the projectors on. I was like, damn,
brother,
man, there's a lot of words up.
That's my point. It's a lot of words. It's a lot of headache stuff. But you know, if we can power to it
now, it makes. I'm gonna shut up, bro. But
no, you're good.
But understanding from a student perspective, it makes today clear. It makes yesterday clear. Why there's always the same pattern of conflicts, and why it's the same nation of people having these issues in different regions in the world. Why were they in Vietnam? Why were they in Afghanistan? Why are they over here dealing with the Gaza situation? Why are they in Ukraine?
Yep.
Like, what is going on? Why is it always... It's always something happening. It's never like, okay, listen, we got our money, got your money. Is everybody good? Everybody happy?
It's never going to be. It's never going to be everybody got their money and everybody's good.
And then they're the Jackson.
At verse 9? Is that where you stopped at?
I stopped at verse 9 so far. Because verse 10 goes in the next one.
And you go into... I'm going to shut up one more time. This is the last time I'm going to say
you're good.
But I can't stop talking right now. I got this caffeine in my body. but
this is why caffeine is a solution. Like, wow, this guy is supercharged. He got so much
to say. No, but the Jacksonian era, right?
What's going on? The Jacksonian era. What's this?
You got the Jacksonian era, which is Andrew Jackson, and he declared war against the Native Americans, right?
Yes.
I'm connecting the dots.
I'm like, this is so much knowledge.
My brain
knowledge we got going on right here.
It's sense. Listen, like, you always say that Esau, as far as so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, have not been relevant when it comes to warfare, as far as on a world stage going against Esau for a long time since the Native American Wars.
Yeah.
The last people he conquered when it comes to the Israelites were what? Gad, right? Wasn't Gad the last nation to be conquered?
Yeah.
Because Judah.
No. Well, shoot, no.
Judah was conquered. Judah was done.
Yep. But you still got Central and South America that kept getting taken advantage of, man.
But you had the Spanish taking them. But what I'm saying is, you're dealing with Andrew Jackson's time period. They conquered.
Okay.
They conquered. Sergeant Juan breaks this down. He goes into how he says that the Native Americans were a worthy opponent. Esau really enjoyed fighting the Native Americans. He enjoyed it.
Yeah.
He said we still conquered them, the ignorant sons of the forest is what he called them. But he enjoyed the fact that they were a worthy opponent, and he got the whole land from sea to shining sea, manifest destiny, and Colombia conquered. The spirit of Colombia has all of America. So America has this whole landmass. They got all the oil, all the gold, all the riches, all the lithium. They control the minerals, so they're good. Now that America's taken care of and we conquered America, now it's about going out, having different focuses across the whole earth.
Yep.
Right. So once America's conquered, then go conquer. I'm just saying this. It's the same spirit of conquering nations. Nation conquering.
But this is all of Esau's history. We're not even talking about all the wars, the European wars. The hundreds of European wars. Wars in England, wars in France, wars with Spain versus France, France versus England, England versus Ireland, Irish versus Scots. I mean, it's nothing but wars up there.
But the idea of revolution and us, I always emphasize the point of fighting Esau with our hands. Talking about we're gonna fight and overthrow the nation, that's never gonna happen, bro. That's pictures way out of whack. They're on bigger and better right now.
And we need to sit back, stay in our lane, and wait for the Most High to deliver us like he delivered Israel in Daniel's 11.
That's it.
Do all these different wars. So, what we're going to go into next, let's get verse 10.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 10.
So, after verse 9, the third Syrian war was over. The Ptolemaic Empire was in charge again, and they added the port of Antioch as an additional reward for their victories on top of all the gold and silver and resources, okay? So, let's continue.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 10. But his sons shall be stirred up.
When it says his sons, he's talking about the Seleucid lines, the king of the north's sons are going to be stirred up. So after Seleucus, Callinicus ends up running his reign, the next son was Seleucus III. He didn't have a very long reign. He only had a 4-year reign. And then Antiochus III, the Great, he came into his power. That's why it says
he's the third.
His sons were stirred up, because a couple generations or a couple kings had to come into place before the next rush of wars and fighting has to take place. Okay? So the next sets of fighting started in 219. So it says, but his sons shall be stirred up, the sons of the king in the north shall be stirred up. Read on.
And shall assemble a multitude of great forces.
And when you sit back here and study and read about Antiochus III, Antiochus III established an assault on the king of the south. That's why it says he was stirred up. The king of the north was stirred up. He assembled a multitude of great forces. Read on.
And one shall certainly come and overflow and pass through.
So the king of the north flows, he overflows, he passes through. Then shall he return and be stirred up even to his fortress. What it's saying is that when you read about Antiochus III, it said Antiochus III, let me see. Upon taking the Seleucid throne in 223 BC, Antiochus the Great set himself the task of restoring the lost imperial possessions of Seleucus I Nicator, which extended from the Greco-Bactrian kingdom in the east, and then Hellespont in the north, and Syria by the south. So what he's saying is this: Antiochus has made a decision when he got into power. Antiochus III, he's going to regain the entire original territories that his great-great-great-grandfather had. Okay? So that ties in to what verse 10 is saying. But his son shall be stirred up, motivated, and shall assemble a multitude of great forces. He's setting up these great forces to regain the territories that he lost. What they're saying is he wants back what his daddy had during the time of Antigonus. Okay? He wants all that land back, including that area that he defeated Antigonus on, which is in Syria. This is what Antiochus III's mindset is. Okay. Read verse 10 again.
Verse 10. But his sons shall be stirred up, and shall assemble a multitude of great forces. And one shall certainly come, and overflow, and pass through.
So their job, their purpose is to overthrow and retake these lands in Syria. Lands that the king of the south has. So he's going down to fight the king of the south. And when you read through history, Antiochus fought the king of the south multiple times. But this is talking about the first time he fought, which is the Fourth Syrian War. Read on.
Then shall he return and be stirred up, even to his fortress.
Okay, so read verse 11.
Verse 11. And the king of the south shall be moved with choler.
So meaning he's angry. The king of the south at this particular time is Ptolemy the fourth Philopator. This is Ptolemy the fourth Philopator, and now he is in a position, as you're reading, to respond to the king of the north's attack. Okay, read on.
And shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north.
So did the king of the south start it, or the king of the north started it? The king of the north started it. Antiochus III started it. Read on.
And he shall set forth a great multitude.
So the king of the south is going to sit back here and go all in with his military resources to break Antiochus III, because Antiochus III has gathered a large army also, and this army, this fight, and this war is going to be in the Syria region where our people resided at. So this war, this hand-to-hand combat, this war process is going to have a lot to do with us in this particular situation. Read on.
But the multitude shall be given into his hand.
So what he says, but the multitude shall be given into the king of the south's hand. So what he's saying is that even though Antiochus III, the king of the north, initiates the war, the king of the south ends up winning the war, or winning this battle. Now what you're going to read, though, is that after this battle, the king of the south was really damaged and lost a lot of his power and a lot of his military in this loss. And the king of the south never really recovered after this Fourth Syrian War. Okay? It never recovered. But let's continue.
And when he had taken away the multitude, his heart shall be lifted up, and he shall cast down many 10,000s, but he shall not be strengthened by it.
So what he's saying, he won. The king of the south won, but the king of the south wasn't strengthened by the victory. He actually lost many 10,000s of manpower, resources, and what we're going to read about real quick in this Fourth Syrian War was that even though Ptolemy and them won, there was a lot of civil unrest in Egypt. There was civil unrest in Egypt, and the power structure was crumbling because internally the people weren't really feeling the Ptolemy's rule in the region anymore. So he was losing control in his country, in his realm, and he's losing a lot of his military force in this fight with Antiochus III. So even though he wins Ptolemy IV, he's really starting to lose, and he's on the descent with the Ptolemaic Empire, because what we're going to read later on is Antiochus III. This guy, he lost this one, but he comes back and is victorious later. And right after this, shortly after he dies, is when Antiochus IV Epiphanes comes in.
And they say that that the Ptolemaic dynasty, some of the mistakes they were making as they started to lose power, political power, because they had so many foreigners that was brought in through conquest into Egypt that they weren't even the dominant race. The Greeks weren't even the dominant race in Egypt. So they were outnumbered by the foreigners. Sounds similar to what we're dealing with now, today. They were outnumbered by the foreigners. So to appease the people, the Egyptians in particular, they started allowing the Egyptian priests to have more rulership and authority over the people. So they started setting up the Egyptian priest again, whom they removed before once they colonized the area. So he said that, and so they try to make, and this is when you see certain videos of an Egyptian pharaoh on a statue that looks like a Greek face, and this is when, in order to appease the people, the Ptolemies try to merge the religion of Isis and of Egypt into Greek mythology,
Which makes sense.
yeah, and so you have these pharaohs with white faces or Greek features.
Yeah.
And they're trying to appease. That was them trying to satisfy and appease the people. So when you look at some of the mistakes they were doing, they were settling to try to give the people what they wanted, but they no longer had emphasis and control and power over the people. And they feared also being outnumbered. That was also a concern of theirs.
Yep. Done.
It explains a lot, bro. How we got to where we're at now.
Done. So I want to read this real quick. And I'm going to read it from the top because all this information is relevant. We're going to read it, then we're going to read back the scriptures, and you're going to see how it flows the right way. Upon taking the Seleucid throne in 223 BC, Antiochus III the Great, he reigned from 241 BC to 187 BC. He had a great reign. Set himself the task of restoring the lost imperial possessions of Seleucus I Nicator. That's his great grandfather. Okay, and he says which extended from the Greco-Bactrian kingdom in the east, and the Hellespont in the north, and Syria in the south. He wanted all of Syria. That includes Israel. All of Syria includes Israel, Edom, all that stuff. He wanted it all, and that he was on a quest of regaining everything his daddy lost. So, by 221, he reestablished Seleucid control over Media and Persia, that's east, okay, which had been in rebellion. So what he's doing is, before you can sit back and even move forward to get new territory, you have to squash out all the seditions in your own country first.
Mm-hmm.
So he squashes out the seditions in his country, then he starts to move forward while building up his army. Then it said the ambitious king turned his eye towards Syria and Egypt, and that's Ptolemy. Okay, so now it says, while he is building this up and consolidating his kingdom, Egypt had been significantly weakened by court intrigue and public unrest. The people started rebelling against the Ptolemies. Okay, the rule of the newly inaugurated Ptolemy Philopator, which reigned in 221 to 204 BC, began with the murder of Queen Mother of his mama, Berenice II. And it says that the young king quickly fell under the absolute influence of inferior courtiers, meaning different people that were giving him advice, the wrong advice. His minister used their absolute power in their own self-interest to the people's chagrin. So what's happening is this king is young. He's a child king. And the people that were responsible for advising him, they were giving the wrong advice, and they were taking advantage of the people through their policies. And the people started having civil unrest because this kid king is getting manipulated by greedy policy makers or senators. Okay? So then it says, Antiochus sought to take advantage of this chaotic situation. Antiochus III, so I'm going to sit back here, I'm going to punch this kid in the mouth and see what he does.
See what it's about.
I'm going to sit back here and get these armies and these soldiers and see what this 12-year-old boy does in war situation. So you get what I'm saying. So that's another reason why Antiochus sits back here and makes this move. The child is young. The country seems like it's weak and unstable. Let's see what I can do with them. So it says Antiochus sought to take advantage of this chaotic situation after an invasion in 221 BC. Just like the scripture says, Antiochus initiates this. Okay, after an invasion in 221 BC failed to launch, he finally began the Fourth Syrian War in 219 BC. So he's letting you know, even how it was even written in verse 10, lets you know that he started it, he went back, and then he started it. Once again, it says, historically, he planned the invasion in 221, but he ended up executing it in 219. Verse 10, read verse 10 again.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 10. But his sons shall be stirred up, and shall assemble a multitude of great forces.
To stir up means to prepare to go to war. Read on.
And one shall certainly come, and overflow, and pass through.
So he's preparing to sit back here and overthrow and pass through. Read on.
Then shall he return, and be stirred up, even to his fortress.
He's returning to be stirred up and go fight. So he's getting stirred up. He goes back to his position. Then he gets stirred up from his position of his fortress. Read on.
And the king of the south shall be moved with choler.
After that second time when he's stirred up, the war starts. The initiating of war was in 221. The execution was in 219. Hold that point. So now he says he recaptured. Antiochus sought to take advantage of this chaotic situation. After an invasion in 221 BC failed to launch, he finally began the Fourth Syrian War in 219 BC. He recaptured Seleucia Pera, which was that port city that we saw online, and the king of the north reestablished that port city. Okay, that was the first thing he did, as well as cities in Phoenicia, amongst them Tyre. So he regained that entire coastal area back to the Seleucian line. Rather than properly invading Egypt, Antiochus waited in Phoenicia for over a year, consolidating his new territories and listening to diplomatic proposals from the Ptolemaic kingdom. So what he did is he was smart. He consolidated what he had versus just rushing into war, fighting without really seeing what Ptolemy was going to do. Okay? So he's still in the spirit of consolidating the ground and the territory that his predecessors lost. Now, it says, meanwhile, Ptolemy's minister, Sosabius, began recruiting and training an army. So within this 2 years' time, they're trying to get an army ready to fight these damn Antiochus boys, these king of the north.
Yeah.
So what's happening is they're low on their own people. Like you had said. They're already running thin on their citizens. So now they're going to sit back and enlist Egyptian citizens in the army, but it ends up backfiring down the line.
Is that a wise move?
That's my point. Because you're arming and training the people that hate your guts.
Yeah, that is.
But when you're weak, do you want to sit back here and arm these guys and help you beat these guys, or do you sit back here and lose to Antiochus III?
Man,
what do you do? You're in the corner. That's the trick bag.
You would assemble those foreigners.
But that's what they're doing. The Jews in here. You think it's just Egyptians?
Mm-mm.
They put military weapons and spears and bows in the black man's hand.
The Jermaine's
fight this war.
Jermaine's out there getting it out.
That's my point. So it says, he recruited not only from the local Greek population, as Hellenistic armies generally were, but also from the native Egyptians, enrolling at least 30,000 natives as phalangites. Don't forget, we were Greek. We were in the Greek population.
Yeah.
So we were already in the army.
Regardless, this is of course.
We were Greek citizens. We were Greek citizens.
Yeah.
This is before the Maccabees.
Okay, before the Maccabees.
This
is the setting.
This is why I'm going into this whole Syrian wars in the first place, because this leads us right into the Maccabees.
Yep.
This is why we got to go through this period of time.
Yeah.
So we just don't jump it and discount it. Okay, so we were already in the Greek population in the armies.
Yeah.
So even we were low on both sides, and we were even low on those numbers still. Wow. So they had to get Egyptian military guys who were phalangites. They weren't classified as citizens in their own country. So you can understand why they were so upset about their position in society.
I get that.
So it says this innovation paid off, but it would eventually have dire consequences for Ptolemaic stability. In the summer of 217 BC, Ptolemy engaged and defeated the long-delayed Antiochus in the Battle of Raphia, the largest battle since the Battle of Ipsus over 8 years earlier. 80 years earlier. Okay, and that Battle of Ipsus was obviously between Antigonus and the rest of the generals, Lysimachus, Cassander, and Seleucia. So this was a big fight, and if I'm not mistaken, Raphia was in Syria. I don't have that image. Let me see. I'm gonna go look for it real quick. Raphia. They're not gonna give it to me. Let me see. Battle of Raphia image. Maybe this. I don't like how. No, I don't like this one. 1 second, John. I'm not going to be on this forever. I just want to see. I know Raphia is in the Syrian region. I just like to see the map to kind of have an idea. I know that the king of the north was up near Tyre and Zidon. I just want to see where they end up taking it. Yeah, they're not going to give it to me, and that's okay.
You're looking for the location
Of
itself.
Raphia, yes, of Raphia. Okay, maybe it's there. They show me that cold Syria area. So let's see if Raphia is on the map.
Close to Gaza.
And that's what I remember. I remember seeing that. I remember seeing that in previous studies. It is in that area. Let me see.
The town of Raphia is located close to Gaza. It says the Battle of Raphia, the biggest battle in Hellenistic history.
Yes. Okay, so let me close this up and get. Well, that's not what I'm looking for. Listen, it is in some damn Gaza stuff, but that's not what I'm. You're right. It is. I remember reading Gaza. I'm just trying to find out where the hell they don't want to. They don't want to give a brother a map in these streets. Right? They don't want to give a brother a map. Right? I guess for me, it just feels better when you can point it out and say this is right.
Well, Raphia, Gaza would be close to Tyre, right?
No, it's
south.
It's south. It's
more
more
Sidon?
It's more the Philistine territory. It's Philistine territory. See, and this is a whack map right here. There it is. There is Raphia. See, you see what? Because Gaza is where the Philistines are. The whole area is Philistia. So Raphia is right next. It's like to the left of the Dead Sea on this map, and that's where Raphia is, and it's close enough to Egypt to get them to sweat, and it's on that King's Highway. That we talk about a lot of times in class. So anyway, that was the Battle of Raphia, and Raphia was the battle that the Ptolemy Philopator from the south, they won, but bringing all these foreign guys to help in the battle ended up weakening him and his nation down the line. So this innovation of bringing the Egyptians in and in the army, he says, enrolling at least 30,000 natives, paid off. But it would eventually have dire consequences for Ptolemaic stability. In the summer of 217 BC, Ptolemy engaged and defeated the long-delayed Antiochus in the Battle of Raphia, the largest battle since the Battle of Ipsus over 80 years earlier. Ptolemy's victory preserved his control over cold Syria, and the weak king declined to advance further into Antiochus' empire, even to retake Seleucia Pierre. So he never even got back the port that Antiochus III had retaken 2 years before. The Ptolemaic king would continue to weaken over the following years, suffering from economic problems and rebellion. Nationalistic sentiment had developed among the native Egyptians who fought at Raphia. So the ones who fought and got empowered, you couldn't tell them nothing when they got back. Confident and well-trained, they broke from Ptolemy in what was known as the Egyptian Revolt, establishing their own kingdom in Upper Egypt, which the Ptolemy families finally conquered around 185.
They were forced to do it, though.
Either I give these guys a piece of the pie or lose against Antiochus. These are the decisions you have to make a lot of times in leading.
That's what happens when you colonize, and the people you colonize are the majority.
Yes.
Yep.
And you're the minority.
Yep.
You can only keep your hand over them and do that. The Chronicles of Diary of what's his name, Willie Lynch.
Yeah.
You better figure something out.
You got to get a new Willie Lynch Part 2 book.
Yeah.
keep them slaves for a little bit longer.
or 0.5 before the first one.
Yeah. So you run out of because you and this is the fear also of immigration, because a lot of politicians, what you hear them say is the favorite word that they use is that we keep bringing these immigrants in, they're not going to assimilate into American culture, and they constantly use that word assimilate, which means that they're not going to adopt American values. They're going to bring their own culture, their own way of doing things, and they're going to be opposite of the American values. And this is that fear of the politicians. This is what Public Enemy talked about in the 80s and 90s. The fear of a black planet. You know what I'm saying? This is what rap was about initially, was that you fear that you would have brought these slaves in and you're going to be overthrown.
Yep.
This fear was also behind creating laws to eliminate blacks and put them in prison gangs once the slaves were freed.
Jim Crow's laws, right?
Yeah, it was always the fear that we would be overthrown by the people that we colonized, and that fear right now is real in South Africa. But when you colonize people, you know how long can you keep them under your hand is the question before they start to revolt and say enough is enough.
So it's a two-front conundrum for people that are in power.
Yeah, you got the land, you got the people, you got control, but how long can you keep it before those people say we're tired of you?
Yeah,
you look just like when you look at the Philippines. The Spanish conquered the Philippines, but after 300 years, they said you got to go.
Yep.
You know, so that's why a lot of Filipinos got Spanish last names due to that colonization. But they said enough is enough. We want you out of here. So the same thing we're watching now with the Greeks. They took Egypt, but the Egyptians are like, now, man, we had enough of this pseudo Egyptian Greek leadership.
Yeah, fake Egyptians.
Yeah, these fake Egyptians.
Because that was crazy what you said. It's interesting that they had Egyptian busts with European features.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of people take that and say this is why Egypt was Caucasian.
And one of them is actually Ptolemy Philadelphus. When you look at his bust that was done, he has the pharaonic headdress, but he has the Greek face. So, but you know, and they're trying to merge. They're trying to merge the Egyptology with Apis and the worship of the bull, saying that's Isis or whoever, and they're trying to create this and saying he's Serapis, and trying to create this Zeus type figure in Egypt. So and even speaking of an emergence or a mixture of Egyptian Greek language, the Greeks even lost their pure language. They stopped speaking Greek in this time period.
Because they say Greek's a dead language. I never understood why they said that.
Well, it was started losing its origin. That it wasn't the original. The best Greek, they say, is what the Septuagint was written in, which is the they call it
Coptic?
No, it starts with an A.
Aegean?
No. It starts with an A. Because you got different Greek language. You got the Doric, you got and some other language, but no, it's not Aramaic. It starts with an A, and it's supposed to be the best or the highest form of Greek. And they stopped speaking that by this time. They were already losing their ability to speak Greek.
So this is what we're gonna do.
Makes sense.
Read verse 10 through 12 again. We're gonna clear this up, reread it again, and we're gonna leave it at that for today because that's heavy. This is a lot, man. I'm gonna be 4 hours of just straight brain workout.
I got some more coffee coming, bro. I got to get it.
So let's read verse 10 again, Thawam.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 10.
Attic.
Yes.
Yeah,
Attic.
Man, listen, I didn't eat whatever coffee he had. I think that was high ref coffee. I don't think that wasn't regular coffee. That wasn't regular coffee. Remember that brand called High Rev?
Yeah.
This is like some High Rev coffee right there.
It's half cappuccino. Half cappuccino, and the rest is Texas pecan. You can't lose.
Let's continue, man.
Daniel chapter 11 and verse 10. But his son shall be stirred up, and shall assemble a multitude of great forces.
The sons and the lineage of the king of the north, specifically talking about Antiochus the third, the great. He gets stirred up. Read on.
And one shall certainly come, and overflow, and pass through. Then shall he return, and be stirred up, even to his fortress.
So his job, Antiochus, is inspired to recapture and reestablish, make the solution line great again. You're going to reestablish all their territory and be dominant again, and that's his vision. Read on, including taking over, regaining territory that was in the Ptolemaic possession. Read on.
And the king of the south shall be moved with choler.
And the king of the south reacts with anger and with fighting, and he's sitting back here, and it's going to bring his forces in to respond to Antiochus III's responses. But like we said earlier, he ended up having to bring Egyptian help into the army to protect what he had in Egypt. Read on.
And shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north. And he shall set forth a great multitude, but the multitude shall be given into his hand.
And the battle of Raphia in Gaza is when the king of the south, Ptolemy Philopator, ends up winning. I think it's in 217 BC, and reestablishes or maintains his jurisdiction. Now, he did lose that port that he had once established, so he's losing territory, but he still won the battle overall. But in winning the battle overall, he's starting to lose control in his own country.
It wasn't a moral victory.
And it wasn't, and exactly, he wasn't able to maintain his people in Egypt, his subjects in Egypt, so he's really getting weaker. He might have won the battle, but he's not winning the war. Okay? And this is the beginning of their erosion, and the Romans are on their way to come take them over and subject them and subdue them. So all this is happening also. So the Romans are starting to get their power from the west. Okay? And by the time we get to around 200 BC is when Rome steps in, because we're going to read later on that the Greeks have to ask the assistance, or the Ptolemies have to ask assistance of the Romans to keep the Seleucids off their back.
Big mistake.
That was a big mistake.
It's gonna cost some money too, right?
Well, hell yeah, it costs money. All this stuff costs money.
They said Rome immediately seized the grains.
Yep.
The grain that's produced out of Egypt and brought that back to Italy, and the money that came flowing through those trade lines.
It was either that and be a vassal, or be completely wiped out by the Seleucids.
And they weren't gonna, once they got the power over it, they didn't release it.
Okay? That was it.
That was it.
So you're forever in a trick bag, or you're going to go to war with the Roman Empire.
Ain't gonna win.
So all this is happening. Let's continue in verse 11, sir.
Verse 4. We read 11, verse 12.
Okay. Read verse 12.
Verse 12. And when he had taken away the multitude, his heart shall be lifted up, and he shall cast down many 10,000.
Listen, he's casting down many 10,000s that are in war against the king of the south. He has to sit back here, his heart's lifted up, meaning obviously his pride is up, and he's having insurrections at home in Egypt, and he has to sit back and stifle these insurrections at home. And he has to sit back and take down tens of thousands of people amongst his own people. Read on.
But he shall not be strengthened by it.
He's not being strengthened by these moves, these political moves that he has to make in his empire. You got to check your phone. So this is what's happening. Read verse 12 again. Salaki.
Verse 12. And when he hath taken away the multitude, his heart shall be lifted up, and he shall cast down many 10,000s. But he shall not be strengthened by it.
Pretty much after the battle of Raphia in 217 BC, his nation and his kingdom in the Ptolemaic line starts to diminish. Okay? And we're going to leave it at that. This is a lot of information, like I said. And the next phase of it, from verse 13 to 18, or verse 13 to 20, goes into the inner strife in Egypt with the Ptolemaic Empire and the Egyptian people, and then the continual rise of Antiochus III. He gets more leverage and gets more power and makes another run in that Syrian region for more power. So anyway, all this stuff is still affecting Israel. Our people are dying in these wars for this power that for no reason.
Yeah.
So that's why we're going over this. Like I said, I don't want to put too much time into breaking all of this down. But we're halfway here.
Can I say one thing too?
Real quick, we're halfway here. We're going to get to Antiochus the Epiphanes. Stop. Go into the history of Antiochus Epiphanes. Then come back here. Finish up the Antiochus scenario in Daniel 11. And get to the end of this. And then we'll be on our way to dealing with the Romans in no time. Yes, sir.
Come. But you know what this shows, though, right? It's, Malcolm X said, he said that you have the field slaves You have the house slaves,
Mm-hmm.
and then they say when master's sick, the house slaves would say, "Master, is we sick?"
Yeah.
He said when the slave master's house is on fire, the field slaves would pray for a wind.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But the statement he made a good statement. But what it shows is the affairs of the slave master dictate the field slaves and the house slaves.
Yeah.
Whoever the servants are, if the master's house is on fire, if he geopolitically is stressed out here, if he's in competition over there, if he's losing territory over here, it affects people that are accepted in society, that are upper echelon so-called Israelites, as a demographic, and it affects lower echelon Israelites. Because sometimes we have this illusion that we've succeeded because we've been accepted by the Greeks.
Mm-hmm.
We've been accepted by the Greeks, and now
Then you're ready to fall for them Greeks.
we are on a level because I have entered into the echelon of the Greeks. That happens in the collegiate realm, the college realm. That happens in the business realm, and we adapt so we can fit into the Greeks because we want prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
But you can adapt all you want. The Most High is still controlling the affairs of the slave master, and you will burn with his house.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. So what we're going to shut this thing down, send our prayers up. Like I said, the class is lesser in time than normal.
Yeah.
But just off the content, it doesn't make sense to really keep beating down this concept in people's heads. It's a lot. We're going to take our time and break it down and get through it as clearly as possible, but we don't want to rush it and overload. Okay? So are there any questions online? Maybe there's a question or two we can answer before we shut it down. Bawam, you got a question? Brothers, sisters, no questions? I hear you. That was bug squashing book day.
Yep. There's a lot of information, a lot of detail.
Yeah.
But you didn't have to pay for it because the college would make you pay per semester for what we just gave you.
Yeah.
That'd be about a good $20,000 per semester.
That's some debt. That's some long-term debt.
Loans
Yeah.
to understand biblical history.
God, so let's do it. Imagine.
Awesome, bro.
All right.
There will be knowledge.
Yep. You're gonna learn one way or the other. Huh? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm tripping. Yeah, I'm looking at that, but I'm holding that up like a dummy. Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
Please listen to us right now.
Please listen to us right now.
Send Michael.
Send Michael.
And the righteous angels.
And the righteous angels.
To watch over.
To watch over.
Bless.
Bless.
Heal.
Protect.
And make strong. The people of Yasharallah.
The people of Yasharallah.
Also send unto us. Much wisdom. Much knowledge. Much understanding. Much patience. Much faith. Much brotherhood. And much love. Spiritual power. And forgive all of our sins. Yahweh Shai come quickly. For in thee is our hope. Always. And forever. Amen. Yahweh Shem Yahshai.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law.
Blessed are Yahweh Shem Yahshai.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives us light to see.
Blessed are Yahweh Shem Yahshai.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives us the ram's horn to call the people.
Blessed are Yahweh Shem Yahshai. Yasharallah.
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the olive oil to anoint Israel.
Psalms 92. It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord.
It is a good thing to give thanks unto the Lord.
And to sing praise unto thy name.
And to sing praise unto thy name.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
To show forth thy loving kindness in the morning.
To show forth thy loving kindness in the morning.
And thy faithfulness every night.
And thy faithfulness every night.
Upon an instrument of 10 strings.
Upon the instrument of 10 strings.
And upon the psaltery.
And upon the psaltery.
Upon the harp.
Upon the harp.
With the solemn sound.
With the solemn sound.
For thou Yahweh.
For thou Yahweh.
Has made me glad through thy work.
Has made me glad through thy work.
I will triumph.
I will triumph.
In the works of thy hands.
In the works of thy hands.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
How great are thy works.
How great are thy works.
And thy thoughts are very deep.
And thy thoughts are very deep.
A brutish man knoweth not.
A brutish man knoweth not.
Neither doth the fool understand this.
Neither doth the fool understand this.
When the wicked spring is the grass.
When the wicked spring is the grass.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
And when all the workers of iniquity do flourish.
It is that they shall be destroyed forever.
It is that they shall be destroyed forever.
But thou Yahweh.
But thou Yahweh.
Art most high forevermore.
Art most high forevermore.
For lo thy enemies.
For lo thine enemies.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
For lo thy enemies.
For lo thine enemies.
Shall perish.
Shall perish.
All the workers of iniquity.
All the workers of iniquity.
Shall be scattered.
Shall be scattered.
But my horn shalt thou exalt.
But my horn shalt thou exalt.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
Like the horn of a unicorn.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
I shall be anointed with fresh oil.
Mine eye also shall see.
Mine eye also shall see.
My desire.
My desire.
On my enemies.
On mine enemies.
And my ears shall hear.
And mine ears shall hear.
My desire.
My desire.
Of the wicked.
Of the wicked.
That rise up against me.
That rise up against me.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon.
Those that be planted in the house of the Lord.
Those that be planted in the house of the Lord.
Shall flourish in the courts of our power.
Shall flourish in the courts of our power.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall still bring forth fruit in old age.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
They shall be fat and flourishing.
To show the Lord is upright.
To show that the Lord is upright.
He is my rock.
He is my rock.
And there is no unrighteousness in him.
And there is no righteousness in him.
By Hashem Yahushua.
Hashem Yahushua.
Psalms 133. Shayar.
Shayar.
Hamayawa.
Hamayawa.
Ladawad.
Ladawad.
Hanab.
Hanab.
Ma.
Ma.
Tawab.
Tawab.
Wama.
Wama.
Naayam.
Naayam.
Shabbat.
Shabbat.
Akim.
Akim.
Gum.
Gum.
Yachad.
Yachad.
Kashamad.
Kashamad.
Hatawab.
Hatawab.
Ayel.
Ayel.
Harash.
Harash.
Yarad.
Yarad.
Ayel.
Ayel.
Hazakwan.
Hazakwan.
Zakwan.
Zakwan.
Aharad.
Aharad.
Shayarad.
Shayarad.
Ayel.
Ayel.
Payab.
Payab.
Nadawathiwa.
Nadawathiwa.
Katal.
Katal.
Karabwan.
Karabwan.
Shayarad.
Shayarad.
Ayel.
Ayel.
Haroria.
Haroria.
Tazayawan.
Tazayawan.
Kaya.
Kaya.
Sham.
Sham.
Tazawah.
Tazawah.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Af. Habaraka.
Habaraka.
Kayayim.
Kayayim.
Ay.
Ay.
Hawalam.
Hawalam.
By Hashem Yahushua.
Hashem Yahushua. Psalms 133 in English. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garments, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life evermore. Amen.
Amen. Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua.
Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
By Hashem.
By Hashem.
Yahushua.
Yahushua.
Rachnawa.
Rachnawa.
Washralia.
Washralia.
Wabiyath.
Wabiyath.
Supari.
Supari.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
By Hashem.
By Hashem.
Yahushua.
Yahushua.
Rachnawa.
Rachnawa.
Washralia.
Washralia.
Wabiyath.
Wabiyath.
Supari.
Supari.
Turn. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
By Hashem.
By Hashem.
Yahushua.
Yahushua.
Rachnawa.
Rachnawa.
Washralia.
Washralia.
Wabiyath.
Wabiyath.
Supari.
Supari.
Turn. Yahweh.
Yahweh.
By Hashem.
By Hashem.
Yahushua.
Yahushua.
Rachnawa.
Rachnawa.
Washralia.
Washralia.
Wabiyath.
Wabiyath.
Supari.
Supari.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahushua.
Barakatah Yahushua.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahushua.
Barakatah Yahushua.
All knowledge.
All knowledge.
All wisdom.
All wisdom.
All understanding.
All understanding.
All mercy.
All mercy.
All patience.
All patience.
All power.
All power.
From your house.
From your house.
All power.
All power.
From your house.
From your house.
All power.
All power.
From your house.
From your house.
By Hashem.
By Hashem.
Yahushua.
Yahushua.
The water.
The water.
From Yad.
From Yad.
Aman.
Aman.
Circle up.
Alright. Saluting out in the heavenly order. Yahweh. Wa Yahweh Shai. Walker Yash'Allah. Men of Israel. Much. What?
Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua.
Kwame Shalom.
Kwame Shalom.
Kwame Shalom.
Kwame Shalom.
Kwame Shalom.
Kwame Shalom.
At the top. Turn and face sisters. Sisters, please stand. Saluting out the daughters of Zion. Men of Israel. Amaja. Barak.
Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. Yes, what's up? Dismiss. Fall up.
All right.
Welcome to tuning in, y'all. See y'all on Monday.
All right.